this shit. He probably let us know in the comments if you watch this podcast. I'm curious. I know you're a busy man.
Jesus.
I know Robert's gonna watch it. I know Clackett's gonna watch it, but I don't know. I have trouble ever since. And what's up, everybody? Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Juice is Loose.
Good evening.
Couldn't make it. Couldn't make it last night. We had two people sitting out. Plus, I was fucking dead tired. So I was like, let's just do it tomorrow. But it's just gonna be the three of us. Robert never acknowledged when I asked, and it's fine. I think we can. We got some topics to discuss, and three people will probably go 3 hours. So.
Yeah, it's happened before.
But
It has happened before.
Yeah. So Terrell, I have a question.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
Not really a question. I gotta bring up some history, and then I gotta ask. So, E3 2017, 18, 19, maybe even 2016. Xbox's E3 always had the same way to review their E3. Did they give me a reason to buy their box? They didn't give me a reason to buy the box. They scored low, which was every year. The Xbox Series X, I think objectively speaking, is the least reasons Microsoft's ever given you to buy their box. By far. And it's the one you buy. It's the Xbox you buy.
Exactly.
So, you never said what was the reason. For those that don't know, you bought the Xbox Series X. I mean, literally, there's no reason to buy the box now because everything's on PC that's on Xbox.
Right.
So, and you have a pretty capable PC. So, what was the reason? And just give your thoughts on having it for like a week now.
So I'm gonna be straight up about it. There ain't no point in BSing it. The reason I have is not a good reason. I want that to be stated off the bat. So I don't want any misdirection. Like, oh, I thought no, it's not a good reason. Okay, so I probably would bullet down the three main points. First point, I talk a lot of shit about Xbox. I probably would say I'm probably the resident Xbox hater of our podcast. I would argue. And I've never owned an Xbox console up until this point. And I always had the mentality, well, if I'm going to talk all this shit, I at least need to try the console. So that's the first thing. If I'm going to talk all this shit, I need to at least try the console. Second thing is it was fucking available. I think that was the second. I'm pretty with you. I don't think I've been open about this, but I was actively looking for a PS5 for like the last couple weeks, and the bitch just would not show up anywhere. The irony of this statement, though, is the day I unboxed it on my channel, PlayStation put up that little queue line that you could get in line to buy.
Why just do Robert 3 for 3?
100%. I tried Robert's method. I couldn't. The bitch just wasn't in stock.
You got to have him do it though, because he's, I don't know, something about being in the right by the East Coast server. I think he gets there. I think he's quicker than anybody being in, right by New York. I just feel like that's my theory because.
So the second reason was I just couldn't get my hands on a PS5, and the third reason I think, and it's not, I wouldn't even call it the most important reason. I think really boiled down to I'm a tech guy. At the end of the day, I wouldn't mind trying new shit.
Oh,
and to
hold
be
on,
fair,
we gotta pay the bills. We gotta pay the bills.
Wait, we have to pay the
Hobbit
bills.
on Hold donated £5. Euros?
Yes, £5.
Terrell, get that super chat. I'll have to give this to Terrell. Those twinky winky comments won't read themselves.
Those tinky winky comments. Let's go.
So I will donate that to Terrell's Xbox Game Pass fund.
I only spent $1 though. I've only spent $1.
I meant to ask Mr. T that last week when we talked about. He said 27 million subscribers. Well, how many people are paying $1? How many people are paying 10? And how many people are paying $15? Like those subscriptions are ever changing too, because Nintendo Life made a video and he's like, Witcher 3 wasn't on there, so I bought The Witcher 3 and I canceled my Game Pass subscription for a couple months because I knew I'd be playing The Witcher 3. And I was like, I feel like that's definitely the best way to do it.
I would agree. But yeah, part of me was just, it's just new tech, and as a guy who's in the tech field, I just kind of was like, And to me, it is the best version of an Xbox console you should buy. Like realistically, if I was gonna buy any Xbox console, the console that plays literally every other system, every other Xbox
Yeah, I mean,
generations of
it's
games.
definitely the hardware wise, it's probably
I
their
so I
best.
so I didn't feel that bad about it, and I have and the way I explained it to my chat was this thing's on 1 month probation. If we finish out the month and I'm not feeling it, the bitch is going right back in the box and it's either getting sold or it's getting returned. One or the other is happening. Uh, but do you want me to go through like some quick first impressions? I won't
Yeah,
get too deep into it. So first two things, I can see why people are kind of in with that UI. The UI is literally like Windows. It's like a
hmm
nerf version of Windows 10. It's not bad. It's just
I don't
not
like
how.
there's a lot of layers to the. I don't, for me personally, as somebody who had the 360 and the Xbox One and been gaming on the Xbox on PC, I hate that home button brings up like the sub menu, and then like
Yeah,
that can take you to the actual menu. If you like go to set, you bring up the home, the little pop up, and then you go to settings. It takes you to the actual settings menu instead of just being able to just go to the. It's just, I don't know. It's always been an extra unnecessary step. I wish they would have got rid
yeah.
of.
Nah, since I'm someone who's kind of used to dealing with the Windows layout, it doesn't bother me,
It's
but
not
I can rec
terrible. No.
it's just kind of okay. That's like the best way to describe it. I didn't like the fact that the moment I put a Blu-ray in, I had to download the Blu-ray app, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
think
this is what we're doing."
I don't know if I'd do that on PS5, but I definitely did that on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I'm about to say it feels like an
Why
Xbox
isn't
thing
it?
because
I don't know. Why isn't it already there? It's dumb, but at
that's
the
what
same time, it's not a big deal.
that's what just confused me. I will say this: the Xbox app is goated. That app was great. I decided to try it because they were like, "Oh, you can use that to set up your Xbox, and then you can also use it to download games from Big Game Pass." And I was doing a bunch of remote downloads and shit. Overall, that the app is great. I was very impressed with the app.
I did the
To the
same
comp
thing for PlayStation. I used the my phone I mean, it was a
that
simple process.
that is a good feature. Nintendo. I'm just saying. Anyways, so the games I downloaded from Game Pass, I tried to get a little bit of everything, something that was new, some stuff that was old. So I think it was like Forza Horizon 5, uh, fucking Psychonauts 2, Yakuza, uh, fuck, what was the other thing? I downloaded like a Hollow Knight. I tried to grab a couple things. I also wanted to try the whole quick resume feature because I have the system. Why the fuck not? And so I played a little bit of Forza. I'll give it as far as graphical fidelity, which I really didn't doubt to begin with, but the shit looks great. I tried Forza. Forza looked absolutely amazing. No bullshit. That is a beautiful looking ass game. And granted, I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm still impressed with the visuals of that game. It looks great. Also got to get used to like traditional driving controls because that shit fucked me up.
Using triggers.
Yeah, I'm sitting here swerving like I don't like I'm drunk. I'm like, yep, this is not what I'm used to.
How
I'm
about
I'm, I'm
that
used.
trigger rumble?
Yeah, that was interesting because I don't know if I had forgotten about that being a thing or what, but that was interesting. I very much have to get used to it. Trying the quick resume. Jesus Christ, phone. What the fuck?
And I've never
I
T
mean,
never talked about it. I've heard that it's not consistent. Quick resume has been a
it's not
complaint
as
of
it's not
people.
as consistent. It's not as consistent as like the way people like it. People acted like it was like this amazing feature, and it's cool. Oh, I also downloaded Mass Effect because it has the whole EA thing where
Yeah,
you get a bunch of EA titles. The quick resume thing isn't. It's not as like smooth as people tried to make it seem like it is. Like it works fine for what it is, but it's very much a pause the game, freeze as you jump to the home menu. You jump to another game, freeze, then it loads
I think
back
the
to where you
biggest thing
were.
is it just keeps you right where you were. Where you can I can switch to a game quickly on PS5, but it's like I closed the game and I wherever I was, if I didn't save, it's lost. Like
Yeah,
that's what Xbox Quick Resume really does. It's just like, but then again, certain games I wouldn't risk doing that without saving first and exiting properly. If I have like a big open world game, I'm not gonna just stop what I'm doing, switch to another game. I'm gonna still save and exit. Like
it's one of those features where it's like it's a cool little thing. Like it almost feels like an Easter egg because realistically, like you said, I'm not jumping through 2 to 6 games at once. Like usually I'm playing it like if I'm playing like if you're really into Forza and you're enjoying the Forza experience, the most I might deviate is like one other game. I'm not gonna open up 3 other games to where it's like, holy shit. Now I tried 3 other games. It works perfectly fine. But like it's kind of just a neat thing. I feel like they made a bigger deal out of that than they really should have. It's just fine. I already like the controller because I was using it for PC stuff.
yeah.
So there's nothing else really to say about the controller. Is great. The controller is good. Just wish I didn't have to put in fucking batteries. And I like the console design. I personally think it's my favorite Xbox console design. I prefer this over. Yeah,
And I mean, it has the solid state's half the speed of the PS5s, but it's still significantly better than PS4 Pro you've been dealing with.
Also, side note, just to mention is Donnie. I didn't put in Sonic Unleashed yet. That I first off I need to. I was trying to focus. I was trying to focus on new stuff, or at least stuff on Game Pass first, and then probably within the next week I'll get it. It's not a big deal
Did
for
you
me
see
right
Anime
now.
Rappers? He's playing Guardians of the Galaxy, and he can't believe it got so many high profile. Or I can't believe they get so many high profile games. Sorry,
I
because I
mean,
know you played that and you
it's
liked
like
it.
third party shit. Although I will say it seems to be kind of weird about what games you can and can't download depending on which app you're using. I'll give you an example. Psychonauts 2 you can get on Game Pass, but if I use the Xbox app, it doesn't just let you download it. But if I go to the Game Pass app, then it lets you
Oh,
download it.
really?
And
Yeah.
I don't understand what the difference is, but I don't know if that's just because of that game specifically, but that was like one of the games that did that where you couldn't download everywhere. You could only download in certain spots. Um Also Guardians of the Galaxy to me visually might be a high quality game, but like gameplay wise is like a AA title, but that's a whole other
And
issue I'm
that
not gonna
game
get
sold
into.
poorly. It's not. I mean, that's one of the things Game Pass is good for, is giving games that didn't do well a second life, a second chance.
Yeah, it's like a redemption. That's really what it's meant to be for like some of those titles. The library I wasn't overly impressed with. Like for example, I was thinking, oh, I get a bunch of the Resident Evils. Well,
No, none.
Only Resident Evil 7's on there. That's the
Oh,
only
that
one.
wasn't even on there last I knew. So that's a new addition.
Resident Evil 7's the only one on there, and every other Resident Evil isn't even there. And I'm like, oh, that kind of fucking sucks. Um, so my biggest, and that's kind of the biggest problem with Game Pass, because it's a rotating library. If it was like an accumulating library where it would get bigger and bigger, so by the end of the generation you had this massive wall of games, it's crazy. But like it's really just a rotating door. Every couple months some shit drops off. In a couple months you get some new stuff. So it never really gets as good as it really could. But the games they run fine. Like I said, the visual fidelity on just looking at Forza
Did you
and a little
try
bit of the.
the two modes in Forza? Because it defaults at 30 FPS.
Oh, does it? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that.
So
I
that's definitely the best looking. You go to 60 and it. I mean, it's not a massive drop off. It's kind of like Horizon, where it still looks great, but that's
really.
yeah. But that's the thing for me. I like having the option. I chose 60 on Horizon. I tried the fidelity mode for about 10 seconds. I couldn't do it and went right back to the performance. I like having the options, and so far there hasn't been a game that didn't give you an option. Elden Ring's the first game that doesn't really keep a lock 60, not even close. All the other games before were just like, yeah, it's going to be 60, pretty much guaranteed. And that was, to me, that was reason enough for me to justify the $230 I spent upgrading to a PS5, was just to get those options. And then the FPS boost is great if you own Xbox One games. It's great. If you don't, then you'd have to go out and buy them. I'm not going to rebuy a game that I have on PlayStation if I had an Xbox to play it at 6. It's not that important. After the fact, it's nice when they update games just after the fact, but by that time, I'd already played The Last of Us Part 2. I already played. I waited for Days Gone till I got the PS5 because they released the 60 FPS patch. I had bought it, started it, and they're like, oh, they added a 60 FPS mode for PS5, so I just waited to play it until I got the PS5. So for me, that's reason for the backwards compatibility games. and getting almost every game at having a 60 frames per second option. To me, that's like reason enough. Not like you had an Xbox to go from. Like I sold my Xbox One for $300, so I could do the same thing I did for the PlayStation. It cost me $230 to upgrade to the Series X because I got 300 for my old Xbox. So I could have did that too. And I think for that price, it's definitely worth it. Even if you have the PS4 Pro, but still, the 60 FPS to me is a big deal. And the loading times, like, it's hard for me to even go to Switch games sometimes, even though they're not bad loading wise. Like Pokemon Legends is pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's still noticeable going to games, some of the games on Switch that have
because it's a drop off essentially.
Yeah, it's like you get spoiled. I
definitely agree with that.
It's close. I mean, there's cartridges that on N64 and stuff didn't always load instantly. I mean, it wasn't. It still had to read the data and transfer it into the RAM and stuff. So I wouldn't say it's quite to cartridge speeds like Elden Ring. From cold, game closed to the menus 11 seconds, and then from the menu into my save files about 5-6 seconds. So if you count that up, it's like 16 seconds total, which is pretty damn fast. And, and that to me, that's getting back. The Xbox isn't quite as fast, but it's still fast. And
like loading wise, sometimes I don't even. I'm like, damn, I'm already in the game, but that's because I'm used to the whole. I gotta wait a couple minutes, or like, not a couple minutes, but like a couple. I have at least
some
like
games
between like
some
30. Well, it depends on the game, but usually like 30 seconds to a minute. I can go grab something real quick. All of a sudden, I'm hearing the title screen. I'm like, fuck. All right, hold on, let me get back to the damn chair and go ahead and start this bitch. But yeah, within the first week, I guess if I had to describe it in one word, it's been cool. It's not amazing. It didn't blow me away, but it's been cool. I've enjoyed its presence to a degree. Whether or not cool is going to be enough to stay in this house is going to be a question.
Well, and I got to address Lenny's comment. I mean, Lenny, you told who? Because I've been told Retro that Breath of the Wild 2 was getting delayed.
Well, that one I don't feel like anyone should have been surprised with, considering all the potential games that were coming out this year, and plus Pokemon's coming.
We'll talk about that. But it just surprised me because, like I said, you always basically laid down the gauntlet that they never gave you a reason to buy their box, and this is literally the first console they had where there's no reason not to. Or to buy the box if you have a PC. Like, literally everything you're playing, you're going to be able to play. I don't know, maybe Hollow Knight's not on the PC Game Pass, but I think it is. Yeah, because, well, I don't know. I'd have to check. But that's one thing I want to talk about. Nintendo Life's video where they were talking about, I don't know the new guy's name. Is it Xeon?
I don't know.
You guys probably didn't watch the video, but he's like, I always wanted to play Hollow Knight. I always wanted to play it, but it wasn't until Game Pass.
Is that the way he talks?
It wasn't. No, he's got like a British or.
Damn it! I want him to talk like that. I would.
I'm just putting on this. I hate this. I'm trying to sound like an annoying person. I've always wanted to play Hollow Knight. It always looked cool to me, but if it wasn't for Game Pass, I might never played it. Like, shut the. If you saw Hollow Knight and you thought that looked good, and it took Game Pass to get you to play it, like, come on, dude. Like, what were you waiting for? As soon as I saw Hollow Knight, I was like, I got to play that fucking game. Now, I waited for the Switch version because I didn't know it was been out on PC that much longer before the Switch version. But still, I saw it in an indie direct. That looks incredible. And I bought it the day it fucking came out. Like, that's the one thing that annoys me is like, oh yeah, like I said, I always wanted to play Hollow. So fucking it's like a $20 game. Max, and then it's been on sale multiple times.
Anime Rapper said it just got added.
Just got added? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I would think if someone's like, I never really thought much about that game, but I tried it and I love it. But if you said that you've always wanted to play it and you always thought it looked good, what were you waiting for? And, that blows
I don't
my
remember
mind.
when it was released, but that shit is like fucking a decade old almost. Hollow Knight.
I think it was 2017.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it came out in just like early 2017 on PC.
Yeah, on the Switch maybe.
No,
Wait.
Switch it didn't come out till 2018 E3
Yeah, it came out later
or
on Switch.
2017. Yeah, or 2018
No,
E3.
I thought it was 2018.
It was that E3 where they announced Fortnite and shit.
Oh no, that might be 2017. That might be
Because I thought it
2017.
had been out. I don't know why, but I thought it had been out longer than it had.
Yeah, 2017.
That was like February, January, February.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, how do we fucking remember that shit always?
And when was the Switch? 2018, June, June 5th,
I don't know, but
June
yeah, like a
16th.
while after, yeah.
It had to be June. Yeah,
Let's look up Hollow Knight Switch release.
probably
Maybe
June.
it feels like a decade because I feel like I've been waiting a fucking decade on Silksong at this point.
Because you're old.
Well, once I realized that Hollow Knight came out in 2017, it's like, well, really, I guess I don't give them that hard of a time because it hasn't been that long for a couple guys to make a game. Why doesn't it just
Yeah, you see how long Nintendo
2018, June 12th, 2018, Hollow Knight, Nintendo Switch. Some things you just remember, some things I don't. But yeah, that's the thing that annoys me is Sackboy got leaked for the next month for PlayStation Plus. I almost bought the game, but I just I looked at enough gameplay. I was like, damn, that's not going to be a great game. But
Wait, the new platformer one?
yeah,
Fuck yeah, let's
it's
go.
just a leak. It's not 100% confirmed, but so far those things are always right. And I'm like, I'll add it to my library and I'll play it at some point. But that's a game, I was thought about buying, but I changed my mind on. Now, if I end up playing that and liking it, you could probably say I'm the same as dude from Nintendo Life, but it's, I haven't been like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to play Sackboy. Now I can. Like that to me it's artificial. I don't know.
I feel like the issue is more so the mentality behind it than the actual just trying it through a Game Pass or through a PlayStation.
I mean, it's fine if you like. I tried Alien Isolation. I never was that interested in it, and I was like,
just don't do it.
But
yeah, don't do the fucking. It's like I really wanted to get this game, but it took Game Pass to change. I'm like, that's not how that works.
No.
Like either you wanted to get the game and you didn't, or you never wanted to get the game.
You work at Nintendo Life. Does the dude even own a Switch? I don't know. He's new, and I don't really watch a lot of their videos anymore.
He owns an Xbox One, and that's it. Like, bitch,
yeah,
what?
I mean, they're both Xbox fans in Europe, which surprised me. And they're like, "Yeah, I wish Nintendo would do something like that." And I'm like, he was like, "Well, The Witcher 3 that was on Game Pass when I had Game Pass the last time when I had an Xbox. Now it's not on Game Pass, so he bought it." A copy for cheap, and then he had canceled his Game Pass for the month or two, he said, while he's playing The Witcher because he knows he's not going to play anything else. I'm like, that's exactly that's the right mentality, other than the thing he said about Hollow Knight. That's still the right mentality. If wait, a couple games get on there, get it, and try to get through them in a month. That's how you play the system. Or don't be the idiot who just gets it and doesn't. And just it keeps auto renewing, and you give Microsoft $180 a year, and you barely touch it. You're like that. Those are the people they really want. They don't want you downloading all these games. They want you just fucking paying the $15 a month.
It's the people who are mesmerized by the amazing deal it is that forget that. Well, you're not really playing enough to justify having it month to month. But it was such a good deal. Oh my God, I don't think you understand how deals work. It's only a deal if you overwhelmingly benefit from it. If you don't play enough games to justify keeping it, cancel the fucking subscription.
I gotta say, see you later, Hobbit. On hold. Thanks for the super chat. Like I said, I will
appreciate the support, buddy.
I will transfer that, and maybe I'll just wait. If you guys wanted to give it to a certain individual, if you feel compelled, I will pass it on. You've been watching since 2012. Damn, Wii U days, baby. Well, the podcast wasn't till 2014.
That means he's been watching you
because that was Mario Kart 8. It started off as Mario Kart 8 Mondays.
That's right, and then it turned into
that was 2014. So 8 years. That's a long fucking time, though. Appreciate it, man. Here. Too bad the Hobbit movies are bad. Otherwise, your name would be really cool.
That one, that when I was starting that.
Maybe he's a fan of the book. All right,
the book's
good. He could be fan of the. He could just like
those
the
movies.
book.
I
so
would
bad.
consider Desolation of Smog better than like at
Oh
least
god.
half of Lord of the Rings movies. So we're not getting into this
We're
shit.
well, yeah, but you always have bad opinions.
Yeah.
No.
So it's hard to trust you
Trash. There's
sometimes.
some good parts in it when he talks to the dragon, I guess. But then that whole
That's
chase
literally the whole movie.
that's like 10 minutes out of the movie. Then there's a 20-minute unnecessary chase sequence with the dragon and making
Welcome to the
this
movie
gold
podcast,
thing. It's so
everybody. How you
fucking
doing?
stupid. Anyway, appreciate you, Hobbit, on hold. So anyway, Game Pass, blah, Xbox, blah, 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 blah. We're done. We're moving
Yeah,
on.
pretty much.
Um,
You're done.
is
You're
there
done.
a game you think you will buy that comes in a green box? You think there's a chance you'll be buying any games, any Xbox games?
That says like specifically Xbox Series X.
Just an
Or you
Xbox
just-
game.
Oh no, there probably will be a game I buy Xbox, but that it'd be for like
Non-Sonic game.
Oh,
Any non-Sonic games you might buy?
No, I can't even think of anything.
Well,
You know what I would buy if it came out, and I don't think it's gonna come out. If Cuphead came out physical, I would get that. I would get that, but they're not gonna do it, and it makes me angry because I want it.
Did you download any games you had already played? Because that's what I did.
Oh, I didn't do that. I should have.
Yeah, I was download almost everything I downloaded was games I already played.
I'm gonna download
I don't know why.
I tried Dragon Quest since Dragon Quest is on there.
It's because I was like, well, these are the only games that really jump out to me. Let me down, and I'm like, I'll start Control again. I'll fucking.
Like I said, the biggest problem with Game Pass is that it's a rotating door.
Yeah,
so
we
like
were talking
sometimes-
about what were we? Right before I
What?
said that, you were making a point before I said bye to Hobbit. It was the people that we were talking about, the people who just say it's such a great value. Well, it's only a great value if you use it. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
if you pay $100 a year or $180 a year, and you play less than 3 day and date brand new games, and that's 3 or less and nothing else, then it's not worth it. You never paid more than $1. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like I said, there's still people paying like $1.
I just renewed my Game Pass rewards to renew my
Oh,
Game
your
Pass
rewards?
subscription. I didn't even know they had rewards.
Well, you can actually take that. It's not like you can get that money. I mean, that's still money you could have. You could have that in a gift card. So it's like, yeah, you're doing the rewards, but it's also money you could exchange for actual gift cards. So you could go spend money at Walmart or something. Like, so you're still spending the money you're earning. Like, it's not like it's just costing you $1. I mean, that's actual money you could have. If you didn't put it to Game Pass, you could have it put on $100 gift card or whatever, however much denomination you have. So it's still your money. That's like me saying, well, I barely paid for my PlayStation 5 because I use my credit card rewards. I'm like, no, that's still my money that I could use for anything. I'm still spending my money. It's not like the PS4 suddenly is $100 cheaper because I use my credit card rewards. That's still that's still fucking money I'm using that I could use for groceries or gas.
See, that reward should have tricked you into thinking that, oh wow, it's extra money. No.
Now, if you got a bonus at work, or like I just sold some of my old satellite speaker system from my living room for $100, I got a $250 just out of the blue bonus, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a fucking solid state drive for my PS5. I don't absolutely need it. I know they're gonna get cheaper, but I got this money. I'm gonna try to spend some money because I put a lot of my taxes and stuff right into the savings. So I haven't spent much money this year. So I was like, I'm gonna buy something. I bought the big box and returned them. I got my money back. It was a trial. I thought I'd play portable mode more, but they were more comfortable than the Joy-Cons. But it didn't make lying in bed playing like this more comfortable. My wrist was still hurting, so.
Didn't you return them?
Yeah, I need something more like this, like these branching out, so that my thumb is farther away from like the analog stick and stuff. It's just I was still kind of crunched up. It gives you a nice grip. Let's see, B. James. Nintendo doesn't really need to release both Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Breath of the Wild 2. They're only 2 open world first party IP, like 2 months apart. Yeah, that's what we said. If you didn't watch the podcast, 3 podcasts ago, where I said Breath of the Wild 2 gonna get pushed, whatever I said.
I think last week we even talked about that again. I'm not sure.
Let's
I mean, we bring it up occasionally.
let me see
It's
what
it's
that one was called for sure.
we just weren't. No one was. I would hope no one in our group was really surprised it happened. I'm glad they just told us now instead of doing that. Let's wait until later on in the year to bring
I
it
think
up.
it was just part of the February 9th direct after where they announced Xenoblade Chronicles, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Xenoblade 3 was just announced like a
Was
month
it in
ago.
that one we talked about it? Oh no, it was number 379. Steam Deck impresses and Breath of the Wild 2 coming in 2022.
So yeah,
Retro
3.
Death was the only one who was like really thinking it was still coming. Um, and I guess we might as well get into it.
Yeah,
My reasoning was the fact that they already put a release month for you need Game Pass to earn rewards. I didn't know that. I think my buddy has Microsoft rewards and he doesn't have Game Pass and he gets like 200 something bucks a year. But anyway, the
Jesus.
fact that they said September for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they announced the Pokemon game for that's November.
Yeah, it's definitely November.
And I'm like, well, if Zelda was going to be done, they're not going to release it in between those two games. And if they're going to push a game, it would be Xenoblade Chronicles 3 because we didn't even know it existed. So if Xenoblade and Zelda were both going to be done around the same time, they would push Xenoblade. And the fact that they're like, yep, September, that told me that they knew Breath of the Wild was going to be iffy for making it out this year because I didn't think there was any chance it was coming out before Xenoblade. So yeah, that's called that one. I called the Mario Kart 9 wasn't coming to Switch. It still could happen, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah,
I called
we're
the
not,
No
we ain't
Switch
bothered.
Pro. I mean, I made a video in the heat of the rumors where everybody's saying it was real. No, it's not coming. Then I described what it would be, and it was basically the OLED.
We should start calling you Juicy Rogers.
Yeah, and the
Oh,
next.
that sounds
So here's
nasty.
two more predictions. One is Bayonetta 3's October. I'm calling
That's
it
not.
for
I
sure.
don't even think that's a crazy.
And I'm
prediction.
saying Switch 2 in holiday 2024. Those
Yeah.
are,
Those are to me. Those are two kind of safe predictions, in my opinion.
where you're hearing stuff about Breath of the Wild 2. I guarantee you, none of it's true. It's just people speculating. Nintendo
Yeah,
would not,
you're not
unless
hearing
they put out
anything.
a FAQ. There's no way anybody knows why. They did say, though. I will say, the couple specific words he said has me so much more excited than I was based off the last E3 trailer. I'm gonna have to find the video because I forgot something to do with you go into the sky, but there's so much more beyond that,
Yeah,
and then like completely
new
new
gameplay elements as
gameplay
well.
elements and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit! Then they show him with this like
Oh, shit.
this like master sword. It looks like it's like either been destroyed or it's like growing
Just
back.
corrupted. Yeah.
And it looked just fuck. I'm just like, oh shit. If I had totally been expecting this game in 2022, I might have been upset that it was delayed. But the fact that it's basically what I thought it was going to be, and then seeing like that or hearing him say that and see the new footage, the few seconds, I was like, fuck, this game's going to be better than Breath of the Wild 1. I have no doubt in my mind now.
And he
Well,
pretty much.
I've said from the beginning that, Breath of the Wild is a borderline perfect game. It's amazing. People think it's the greatest game ever. I wouldn't dispute them. But from my personal view, I've always said the sequel, it already won't have the fucking Divine Beast and give me like dungeons, maybe some underwater and caves. That's all I need for it to borderline be the greatest Zelda for me personally already. Like they don't even need to do much to make it better. And I have a feeling they're gonna do so much more than that, man. Like you said, especially after what he said today, I'm like, maybe they're delaying it because there's so much. Maybe it's done, maybe it's not. Maybe they need more time. But I have a feeling they're like adding so much shit to this game. It's gonna be absolutely brutal.
Is
Because I've said it
footage
from the
new, by the
start.
way?
Breath of the
This
Wild
ain't. This
is a
is.
Wii U Zelda.
No, a little bit later in this.
Yeah, that's new. When he's picking up, grabbing the sword, that's the only new. But let's see. However, the expanded world goes beyond that, and there will be an even wider variety of features you can enjoy,
Man, look at that
including
badass
new
fucking ring.
encounters and new gameplay elements. I'm like, this is gonna be like, this is already like. Too bad it's not coming out this year because I think it would. I'm already feeling like this is gonna greatly surpass what everybody's raving about with Elden Ring. Like, I just think this game is gonna be fucking immense. I initially saw the sky stuff, and then they showed like basically the same Hyrule in the E3 last year. I was like, oh, so basically go to the sky. That's your probably your dungeons and stuff, and then it's just the exact same Hyrule down below. I was like, I'm kind of that's kind of disappointing. But now he's saying, well, beyond that, um,
I very much believe, based off of him, because he said it's spring 2023. He's probably gonna try to hit that anniversary of when the first Breath of the
yeah,
Wild released.
6 years, man. That's
That's
a
a
pretty long gap
I-
for even for Zelda.
but think about it. If you let's say we go with your prediction, right, that 2024 is when we get the Switch, the next Switch console, or just the next Nintendo console. That's a nice swan song year. The begin and end with Zelda. That's kind of that's nice. I like that.
And you know, I still think there's gonna be another 3D Mario game. You could still get a Donkey Kong game. You know, like there's still a lot left. I think that year 6, unless it's just well, we're gonna put out Breath of the Wild and that's our swan song. I in a Pokemon maybe in the holiday, and
But that just
some
seems kind of redundant.
maybe some ports and stuff, and then just start saving it all for the next system, or they're just gonna keep going. We're gonna have another next year be another 2022 type of year, so you never know. But yeah, it's like it's hard to be mad because you know we got in a long debate, and it doesn't matter where you stand. The fact is, the Wind Waker was released before it was intended initially, and their plans had to be cut short. Whether you love the game, I still think it's a great game, especially the HD version. It's still just always in the back of my head because I didn't find that out till the HD version was announced and the Q&A, and they're like, "Are you guys going to add in the cut content?" And that's the first time I knew that Wind Waker had cut content. I knew it felt short to me or shorter, but I've always been like, man, what could that have been? That might have been my favorite Zelda game, you know, with if they had done their full plan. And I would, if they said the same thing about Breath of the Wild, if years down the road, yeah, we had intended on having 6 divine beasts, 6 champions, I'd be like, damn, like, you know, I would have liked more, you know, but you know, I love the game we got, but I would have
really
liked more.
wouldn't have wanted more divine beasts.
Really, dude, I don't know what.
I hate the fucking divine beast, and I'm the dungeon
You're
guy.
the problem
I
with
hate the
gaming,
divine
Retro.
beast. Nah,
That's what
man.
you are.
That
But the
was some
thing is, it's just
cool
weird
as
because,
shit.
like, I felt Wind Waker wasn't lacking content though. Because people, you said it in the chat earlier, there's like 2 dungeons, but nah, there's like at least 7 dungeons with their unique. No, you can say no, but that's a fact, and I can list them all for you if you want. You know, there's at least 7 major dungeons with their own bosses. And you can say, for example, the Forsaken Fortress doesn't count, but it doesn't change the fact that you have the Forsaken Fortress.
And I love that you
Have the Wind
mentioned that
Temple,
it
the
went.
Stone
You had to go
Temple.
there
You got
twice, and I'm like, yeah.
Dragon Roost, you know, like you got like the Windfall one. Like there's enough in there, you know, to the point where I never felt it lacked content. And Breath of the Wild, I feel, only feels like it doesn't lack content because of the shrines. And I've said it before, the shrines are like my favorite thing in gaming ever. They're like absolutely incredible. But those divine beast temples are absolute garbage.
All right. So here's my question: because you have all the positivity towards the shrines. Is it just because the shrine there's so many of them, or because they're like micro dungeons?
No, it's because this is gonna be me, but it's an atmosphere thing. I love the atmosphere inside the shrines. I like the visual look of them. I like the music you have, and I like the idea that you have puzzles that you can solve in like 100 different ways, and then you have like 120 of them. It's just non-stop puzzles. It's basically my substitute. That's what I consider my substitute for the dungeons, not the divine beasts. They're like no, they're like vomit.
Yeah, I just really liked the whole having to get to them part. having to manipulate something. Each one had a different mechanism to manipulate, like tilting the I forget, divine meadow, I think it was, the flying one, to like to get access. Like, to me, that, I dare say, that's probably cooler than just getting an item. And especially like Twilight Princess, I always go back to, because that has the dumbest fucking item, that stupid cogwheel. And you get to use it once in
I
a
like the
dungeon.
spinner.
You get to use it in that dungeon and a few little, like, to
Yeah.
get some heart pieces, like, to me, tilting a fucking divine beast to like get access, as soon as I realized that's what I had to do, it just blew my fucking mind. Yeah, the bosses were a little, uninteresting looking. There were still fights that were challenging. So I mean, I'm not against having dungeons. It got a little too formulaic. That's why I like Skyward Sword's, like, getting to the dungeon. That's, you listed what, Dragon Roost Island. To me, that's almost like in other Zelda games, that would be the outside of the dungeon, getting to the dungeon, not like actually count as a dungeon type of thing. So but what, besides the point, my main point is, if they got to take 6 years to make this Breath of the Wild sequel, take 6 years. I'd rather have that than 3 years getting half the ideas they wanted to implement out. Like,
I feel the main thing they actually want to try, like I said, I feel it is going to have a graphical update, but I do feel most of the power of the Switch, because, again, it's still the first Zelda actually made for the Switch. I feel most of the power is going to be used in, like, making the sky, like, literally like a part of the overworld. Like, you're not going to transition into it. I feel it's going to be like a whole. And I feel that's really going to show. I think that's the biggest thing.
I'm kind of feeling there's going to be a loading screen involving getting to the ground, getting to the sky. Yeah. I wish it wasn't. I hope there isn't. All right, see you later, Lenny.
Could be.
I know, Breath of the Wild was a Wii U game, and it's seamless, but you still loaded in the shrines. You still loaded in the divine beasts. There were separate areas. So I kind of feel like the sky area is going to be... It would be awesome, though, if it wasn't. If it was all seamless. That would be cool. So...
Either if it's not, even if it is separate, no matter what, it's going to be like basically the whole map twice. You're going to have a whole new map to explore. Either way.
You want to know my favorite memory of A Link to the Past, which is my second favorite Zelda game, is the first time you get to the top of Death Mountain and you're like crossing a bridge and you see like the trees down below, which they had, it was a simple like circular shape, but then you seen them way down in the distance, and then there was like clouds or like, in between, and I was just like, I'll never forget. That's the most memorable thing of almost, basically that Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time, and fucking just about everything in Breath of the Wild, had that same feeling. So the thought of being up in the sky and seeing Hyrule down below is just, I love the thought about that. I love the thought of that.
Yeah.
On the overworld, there are no how do you know so much about this game, dude? You watch like Zaltec all the time?
Hey, listen, people, Zelda's one of those franchises the motherfuckers will analyze for hours.
Yeah.
There is no...
And you can't go 100% by a trailer, because they might be misleading you, or that could be a part in the game before.
It could be like developer mode where certain things aren't in there.
Because I think the sky stuff in that Link is a old Link from either the past or the future. It's not the same Link that is in Breath of the Wild 1.
You've had trailers, and I can't think of it right now, from Nintendo, where in the trailer they purposely not show certain things and actually try to convince you otherwise. Everything you're gonna see in the trailer, like, don't count on the fact that that's necessarily there, or that more is not gonna be there. Like, even the original Breath of the Wild, the sequel trailer is already like old by now.
Yeah, their initial trailer was 2019, almost 3 years, or 4 years. No, 3 years in June. And Visor, I'm there with you. I'm still bummed that they're strongly suggesting that Zelda falls at the fucking beginning of the game. Even in that E3 trailer last year, they started by showing her fall, And then after that, they showed the sky and all the Link stuff, and then you never saw her again. So that, to me, that's them telling us like, yeah, Zelda's not playable in this game. So
It could be, but it only
Unfortunately.
takes 1 second for the hand to go down
Yeah.
and grab her. You know, he
Yeah.
lifts her up.
And then the Hyrule Castle taking off thing. Like, there's a lot of questions, and that was 2019, that reveal. By the time the game comes out, it'll almost be 4 years later. That might be completely changed. They might not even have fucking Hyrule Castle take lift off. Like, that might be completely gone, just like the original.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned this on Twitter and in the chat. It was 2 years and 9 months from the initial reveal of Zelda U to Breath of the Wild releasing on the Switch. 2 years, 9 months. That felt like the longest wait. People always talked about how long that wait was. Well, we're already at 2 years and 10 months since Breath of the Wild 2 sequel was announced. And by the time it releases, it'll be at the very least 3 years and 3 months, or 9 months. So it'll be 1 year longer. And look at how much changed from the Zelda U in 2014 to the final game. So I wouldn't hold anything you saw in that 2019 reveal.
Plus, I've mentioned this example before several times because it's one of the main things that still pisses me off like 100,000 years later. The original trailer for Twilight Princess, half of that shit is not in the final game. They had this whole battlefield scene with all these creatures walking on this epic music is not in the game. These Link walking in open forest, like guarding shit with his shield. None of that is in the game. Like they've done that before, even within Zelda. So
I think with the Zelda team,
saying.
they start making a game, and if somebody has a good idea, they do it. Doesn't matter how long it's going to take. I just feel like they're not going to compromise like they did with the Breath of the Wild, which I think was confirmed was the physics. I'm not 100. I can't remember. Somebody confirm what the delay was.
Yeah, what they said, like they had an idea that they wanted to implement in the game, and they did
or
it.
it was the
Shit,
climbing.
that was like late.
I feel like it was the climbing or the physics system.
It was one of the main. It was one of the
physics,
main parts of the actual game.
They're like, "Wow, we had this idea, and we want to implement it." Yeah, and then the Hyrule changed completely.
Yeah.
Hateno Village is kind of still the same as that initial Game Awards footage. You can find the same kind of landmarks and stuff, but like where he showed the horse, there's usually apples growing here, like that. The bridge going across Lake Hylia. I don't know if that has a name. That changed, quite a bit changed, and it's like, at this point, I think they're still going to go down and find Ganondorf there being held by some kind of power. But
yeah, I think the basis of the story is the change.
Yeah.
But even what we saw last year, like I said, it looked like just Breath of the Wild. He was fighting, was it Stone Talus? Somebody? Yeah, that's what it was. It's like that might not even be in the game, or maybe they changed their mind. Maybe they were going to have it where you're just going to play in the same Hyrule, and then you're going to go up to the sky and do stuff, and then come back down. Maybe it was a different timeline situation. Maybe they're like, you know what, we got to do more. So
here's the thing: do you think they're gonna re-implement the shrines?
no.
You think they're gonna remove them completely, or keep
there's
them
no
with
real
changes?
point.
They could keep them there and just have them be closed off.
Either that, or it could be like a post-game thing.
I think it'd be cool just to have them there, like, or maybe they go back in the ground. I don't know.
Personally, like I said, I was just gonna say, like I said, it's one of my favorite things in gaming ever. But I hope they're kind of not gonna be in there. I don't want them to copy paste most of the same world, and really try and make you feel like you're exploring something different, with different things to find.
I know they said it initially started as the DLC, and then they're like, "This, we got to make this the full game." And then I don't know if they rushed or changed course for the champion stuff, which was fun, but it wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted was Link and Zelda working together to rebuild Hyrule and find, and like, that would have been less exciting. You would have had a lot of repeating enemies. Do the enemies stay now that Ganon's gone? There's no Blood Moon anymore. Like, what could they do? It's like, well, they could maybe travel or something. That's what I thought for the DLC that I wanted. Then I was like, well, maybe that'll be the sequel. To see them in the cave, Link and Zelda, they're going to figure out, they find the source of the evil. That's awesome. I hope that's still in the game. at this point, I would like to be able to play as Zelda. Anything from Elden Ring you want to see in Breath of the Wild 2? The dodge roll. Not for the main combat, but just in the world. I wouldn't mind just be able to dive and mess around with Link and like add to his shield surfing and he doesn't have a whole lot of stuff he can do beyond you got the shield surfing, you got the parasailing. You can create an updraft, but I wouldn't mind seeing Link be a little more agile. I think that would be cool. And you could use the stamina system. You dodge roll, and that's a chunk of your stamina. Not in the main combat. I don't want to be dodge rolling every attack. Instead of, I like the side jump in the flurry rush. I wouldn't be surprised though if they completely rehaul the combat system. Like I wouldn't be shocked if it's just absolutely just 100% different than Breath of the Wild. I wouldn't be mad if it was the same, because I really enjoyed it. Let's see. It's good about Zelda falling off early. You don't have to hear her fake British accent. That's true. That is true.
Aww. She could have improved, damn
Just
it.
hire somebody with a British accent. Jesus Christ. Like, come on.
Hollywood does it all the time. They do it all the time. They need to stop that shit.
I mean, they make people with British accents have American accents, but, like, seriously, like, I watch some reaction channels. There's a girl in Bulgaria. Is it Bulgaria? Let me think. There's two girls in Serbia. They kind of sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger a little bit. Or maybe it's the other guy. I don't remember. And then there's a girl in London. Yeah, I don't only watch, but I mostly watch female reactors.
I wonder why.
And you hear these accents, like there's an Australian accent, then you got Alana Pierce with her Australian accent. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong? Why can't I just have an accent from a person with an actual accent if you're going to have her supposedly need an accent? It's like, I never understood that. And I know Retro hates hearing an Australian accent in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 mixed in with a British, but they live in different Titans. So it's like people
it's not just that. And I left Trizzy like a voice clip before the podcast because I'm nearing the end game and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm like 190 hours in my first playthrough. I did all of the quests. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna rush to the end.
Hours.
So he asked about the you played in like Japanese. I'm like, yeah. And like, yeah, a big part of it is that, I can't hear Irish, Scottish, and English people talk together. But it's not just that.
You're gonna hate America then.
Somebody like Nia, for example, is like a little girl. If you hear the Japanese voices compared to the English voices, she sounds like she's 30 years old working in a bar. She's like, oh yeah, let's go do this. Super happy beam. It sounds stupid. I can't do it.
That's not Nia at all. You just described somebody other than Nia. That is not Nia.
Is that supposed to be Poppy? What the hell?
I'm just doing some random ass voices because Nia's like voice is absolutely horrible.
Nia has the best
Stop
accent.
having bad opinions, please. Yeah. I'm begging.
Nia has the best accent. Fucking.
The last story did the same thing. I just can't do that.
Nia was caring. She was thoughtful. And in Japan,
that's nothing to do with her voice.
In Japanese, she probably screams all the time. And just, they over exaggerate everything. And it works for some stuff. But for me, it's like, yeah, it's better. I'd rather have, not Pyra, but Rex shout, or whatever, instead of Pyra.
I'm not gonna lie.
Pyra!
I like both.
Like, dude, that's literally that loud. That's him. You couldn't find a voice actor who could actually yell Pyra's name out loud, like not just Pyra.
I think he could do it. I think realistically, Xenoblade 2 had bad voice direction. I mean,
it's a life and death moment, and I mean, Retro. You probably didn't play it, so you didn't hear it.
I've been at Pyra.
I know what you mean. It's so bad, but and then you got I didn't like Mithra's voice act. I know it's the same person, but I thought she didn't do a good job with the second.
Well, for example, let me give you a really good example why
it's bad.
Specifically in Xenoblade, specifically in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, why I like it. There's something in the beginning of the game where I'm like, holy shit, Morag is a girl. You're like, you didn't know that was a girl? That's because in the Japanese version with the voices, they try and trick you. That's the purpose of her character. a lot of the dialogues with Blades and characters are based on the fact that people don't know that she's a girl, which you do not get in the English voices because she has such a feminine voice in English compared to Japanese, where they actually try and trick you, making you think it's a guy.
But it was
That's
still
just a twist. You just don't get that.
It's a twist for the character in the game. Not, I didn't ever. I mean, maybe in Japanese it's supposed to twist.
It's also not really that much of a twist.
Yeah, it's fucking obvious as hell. But it was who was it? Pop. Not Poppy.
No, but that's it's obvious to you because of the voices.
Who was it that didn't realize Morag was a girl in the game?
Tora is one of them.
Tora.
It's not even
that was the joke.
Game. Yeah, that was the joke. Like,
was that he thought she was a dude, but everyone else knew she was a girl. That was the joke.
No, yes, it's a joke, but to you it's an obvious one because of the super feminine. Because of the super feminine English voice.
Example.
The goal is to trick the player.
No.
Everyone in the chat, was that a bad example? I think that was.
I think the goal was it was funny that Tora thought she was a girl and everyone else. I thought she was a boy, and everyone else. That was the joke. Now, maybe, like I said, maybe in the Japanese, they were trying to trick the player, but in the English,
what they do, because you have that a lot in anime. And Terrell should even know that they try that a lot
in the English
with games and in the anime. Try and trick you to make sometimes have a guy be a girl or a girl be a guy. Even fucking Florin is the blade itself. They try and trick you with that.
That's the one you should have used instead of fucking Morag. That's only in a
heart. Morag is like a main character. It's a big part of the twist.
It's not a big part. It's not a big part at all. I hope you know that.
They know not who we are.
It is.
We've been deciphered very well.
Meaning impactful.
Shall we dance? Don't turn away.
A big reason
Trust
why the voice
in the bonds of fate. We will forge a path, and none shall
Terrell's
stand
the
in
expert,
our way.
so we go by
it's
him.
too early to be complacent.
Oh yeah,
you call him the expert because you're
engaging the enemy. Squad, hold your positions.
Of whether or not
this
Morag
should prove
was a girl
interesting to say the least.
She doesn't have a feminine voice either, by the way. I'm playing it right now.
I will show no mercy, even to the likes of you. Do not underestimate them. And so it begins.
But like, it wasn't like, oh shit, it's a woman. They don't do that joke with her.
So let's all right, Retro, you can watch the stream and listen, because let's see how they play. I took it as it was a joke for the audience because Tora was an idiot.
Uber Eats does not
and maybe
mean
like
anything.
It's also
so
not
stop thinking.
But at that point, we
and it was
already
hilarious.
know it.
It was literally probably one of my favorite moments.
I don't think this is it. Because
it isn't?
The hot springs thing. No, because Morag isn't
definitely know that.
Yeah, Morag doesn't show up until after this cutscene.
I still want to watch this.
People always bring up the perverted Nia joke with this scene because Nia's like, nice bodge you got there, and you're like, what?
Really?
Yeah, you'll see it when Mithra shows up.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, she's gonna say it in a minute. This is the first time Mithra's out in a non-confrontational sequence. Yeah, here it is. Now watch her. Nia's on some next level shit.
She's looking right up there.
Well, to be fair, she didn't know what she was turning into. Also, Poppy swimming has me dying. That swimming is so goofy.
I guess not.
But wait,
She's like a 30-year-old woman. I can't do the voices.
30-year-old woman, dude.
Shut the fuck up.
Nice
Retro.
rod you've got there.
And then the face.
Nice butt you got there.
The face she does had me in tears. She's like squinting her eyes. I'm like, man.
She sounds like a mid-20s, and she's not young. That's the thing, and you find out later on, right? She's not.
No, Mithra?
No.
Oh, no, you're talking about Nia. We don't know how old Nia is officially.
But it doesn't change. No, but yeah, you can say that. Oh, she's supposed to be 130,000 years old. It doesn't change.
Yeah, you're looking for the other.
It's supposed to be a girl.
That's
this one.
Yeah.
The heart to heart.
But like I said, it's a heart to heart. It's not even a plot thing. That's why I say.
No,
yeah.
I know what you guys think, but this is way later. Here, at this point, I already know. Here, they already did it for the audience.
They didn't do it for the audience. What do you mean?
I refuse.
They never.
Oh, that's what I said. Here, they didn't do it. That was way before that. This just came out later.
They don't do it in the plot at all.
I'm gonna listen to the guy who has 300 and something hours and has played the game 3 times.
I'm also just saying, there is no point in the main story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 where they're like, Morag's a woman? Like, they don't do that.
Morag, how about next time?
Anyway, we're moving.
I just want people to understand, don't trust Retro with anything Xenoblade 2 because he can't be trusted.
He's got a lot of hours, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, on his first playthrough. Goddamn.
So did I answer the question? Oh yeah, I said the dodge roll, but
also Donnie, yeah, you're right. Naoto from Persona 4 is literally the same situation. Where, but that's the main part of her character because she's like, because she actively doesn't acknowledge, like, because it's a reveal, which is the problem I think Retro doesn't get. It's not a reveal in Xenoblade 2 that Morag is a woman.
It was definitely to me.
Well, that's because
some point it happens. I think at some
probably
point
because you missed the subtitles.
Some point in Torigoth, they have a conversation and Red is there or something, and then that's where they reveal it. I don't know.
They call her
it happens several times.
Don't they refer to her like multiple times being a female, like being a badass?
Yeah, because they go Lady Morag.
Again, in Japanese language, you don't have her and him. You don't get.
They call her Lady Morag. They call
Not
her
in Japan.
Lady
They don't. Maybe.
In English they do. Maybe later on.
No, whatever. Just move on.
Yeah,
I'm sad now.
We'll have to do a separate podcast about this.
He saddened me. I would go look at the cut.
Are you just listening to the Japanese and you know enough Japanese? You're trying to get the story, or are you reading?
I hope he's not one of those guys.
Reading the subtitles.
I grew up in the Netherlands. Subtitles is literally part of my existence. Like, I don't know what, but I know enough, for example, that like when I have the Japanese on, that it bothers me that they don't actually have the names correct, because there's different names. Every name of every character is different in Japanese and in English, and it bothers me when they don't put the actual names they use in Japanese in the subtitles, for example. Like Mithra, for example, she's called Hikari in Japanese, which literally means light. But then they don't put Hikari on there, for example.
Don't say that's not how you pronounce that at all.
It's Hikari. That's
it's Hikari. Hikari.
No. That's
You're
like,
wrong.
That's like saying like Gatsu. No, it's Guts. It's Hikari. That's what you say in Japanese.
It's Hikari.
Okay,
that sounds more Japanese than Hikaru, but I guess they both sound Japanese.
I almost want you to pull up the clip. I swear to God,
right.
it's Hikari.
Let's talk about that PlayStation Plus membership.
I'm so angry. You pissed me off in such a short time.
PlayStation Plus has a membership now. We're 3 tiers, and yeah, I'm not getting it. So that's my take. Same take. I mean, it's not as good as. I guess it's not as good as Game Pass Ultimate. It's cheaper, but it's not as good. It's $120 a year instead of $180, but it's basically PlayStation Now plus some older games. They haven't told you what. Some are going to be download, some are going to be streaming. I don't have a problem. I'm sure streaming like a PS1 game isn't going to be. I'm sure it'd be fine. When you got to streaming games with all this detail and stuff, that's when streaming can look bad. I think streaming actually works better for older games than newer games, because there's a lot less going on. You got to worry about cameras panning around and foliage and all this fine detail. So I have no interest in it. I don't really care that much about the PS1, 2, and 3 games. And I'm happy just to buy the games I want to buy, and the occasional game I might play off the base PS Plus subscription, PlayStation Plus subscription. So that's my take. Anybody got a different take?
I don't even care, man. Yeah. The subscription plans and shit, like there's so many of them. Like I use PlayStation Plus, because I need to be able to play online, so I take the minimum that it is. I don't care about all these free games, half games, like temporary games. Like I just don't care.
I don't need any more games on my plate, that's for sure. I ain't paying more for something I won't use. Now, if people start chirping, if Sony fans start chirping about how good it is and stuff, then you're going to hear me complain about them. Because my only problem with Game Pass is the Game Pass salesman that it birthed. The the Green Knight, as you will. The Bible thumping Game Pass pushers. That's the people that piss me off. I don't care about Game Pass. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't.
It's inoffensive.
It's inoffensive. If I wanted, I could try some games for cheap. I could use it if I wanted to. I've had it 4 times. Barely used it, but I've had it. I don't mind it. But the constant, well, you can't ignore Game Pass now. Like, nothing changed. It's still the same reason. I don't care. I'm not paying to for the few day and date Xbox games that actually are good. I'd just rather just buy that. I'd rather buy Forza Horizon 5. I'd rather buy Hellblade 2. I'm fine buying them. So for me, it's not like, oh, Starfield. Once they have Starfield, you can't deny. Like, yeah, maybe 3 years from now, when all the games they showed off for their first gameplay reveal or whatever, where they showed off Avowed, they revealed Fable 2 or whatever. I don't know if it has a title. Fable. They showed fucking Everwild. They showed State of Decay 3. Well, they not showed them, but they announced them. Maybe once all of those games are out and they're good, and you can have access to all those games, yeah, that's gonna be a good. If I get Game Pass for a couple months, I'll have games to play. But getting it for the whole year or waiting for, how long has it been since Forza and Halo? It's already been 3 months. What's come out?
Yeah.
Psychonauts, Forza, and Halo came out close together. Before that, there was nothing for basically a year. And now there might not be nothing again until Starfield. So it's like,
when is Starfield?
It's November 11th.
No. Yeah, we got.
Or 22nd? Is it the 11th or 22nd?
That's still a lot of time. That's a lot.
It's 11/11/2022.
Yeah, I thought it was 11/11. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm fine with Game Pass. I have, I've had it, tested it. It's not for me. I just can't stand the constant chirping, and I'll be the same way if PlayStation guys, which I don't follow any Xbox or PlayStation, but every once in a while somebody like Jay Grooves will like a tweet, or just a random name I think it popped in my head. Will like a tweet of somebody like that, Nintendo fanboy, Xbox or Microsoft, just whoever. It could be anybody. Just happens to like a tweet, and now it's in my feed. That's the shit that bothers me. Like, I've had PlayStation Plus for a year. How many times have I tried to sell anybody on it on a podcast or Juice Opinions? How many times have I ever made a video praising PlayStation Plus? I think I felt it was worth the $60 I got out of it. I got enough out of it to justify it. I renewed it again because I want to play Elden Ring multiplayer, and if 2 games come out that I enjoy, that's fine. So, but I've never hyped it up as something it isn't. It is what it is. Let's see. Oh, also, wasn't it PlayStation Port? Was it PSP games or PS Vita games were part of the package?
I see PS4, PS5. I don't see anything else.
The last tier had.
There we go.
PS1.
Yeah, PS2, original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PSP, and PS4.
And then you can stream PS3 because there's no ports. There's no downloading. That's streaming.
PS3 games are available via cloud streaming.
And it's whatever, If somebody wants
it's kind of where I'm at.
If somebody wants to spend $120 a year on it, who am I going to tell them? Who am I to say that they're dumb? Do it.
No, you can say it.
Just don't try to tell me to do it. Like seriously.
No, I'd probably say you're dumb. That's a whole.
Don't try to suddenly try to shame people for buying games. Oh, now that PlayStation Plus Deluxe is out, why are you still buying games? Like, fuck you. Like, I'm still gonna buy games
because I want new shit. The fuck.
And they're not putting any day and date games. And they said, Jim Ryan or whatever said that doesn't work with their strategy because of all the money they invest in their big titles. And I agree, unless they thought that they could get enough subscriptions that this could pay for all those games, they would put them day and date. If that was their plan to make this their number one revenue stream, then they would have did that. But they still want to sell 10 million copies at $60 or $70, and still make money that way. Now, still to the day I die, till the day the PS5's dead, I just can't accept the $10 PS5 tax. It's just stupid. I paid $60 for Horizon, the PS5 version. I wasn't going to pay $70, and I'm not going to pay $70 for a game that's $60 on the PS4. It's just
right now, I think is it just Sony that's doing the $70 thing? Like, is anyone else doing $70?
Some third parties did it. Like I think NBA and Madden both did it. where you had to pay 70 or 80 to get both the versions, PS4 and PS5. So those two, and then Sony are the only ones who have done it. And then the rest have just given you free updates, like the Resident Evil games. That was one of the main reasons I decided to get the solid state, because I'm about to have 3 extra PS5 games that I didn't have before. Like they're on my external hard drive PS4, but I'll have to be a native PS5 app. You have to install it on the solid state. So I'm gonna have 100 gigs right there, and those 3 games total about 90 something gigs, maybe 100 gigs. So I was like, well, I'm automatically gonna have 3 more PS5 games this year without buying anything. So anyway, let's talk about some developers having issues. The first one is From Software and Elden Ring. Well, we can talk about Kirby, because Kirby sold 2 million in its first week.
You know that?
I knew it sold well, but I didn't know.
Somebody posted like 2 million, and which is great. And everybody's really liking. Reviews are good. What was it, 85 out of 100 Metacritic last Robert posted. Reviews sound really good. It's about everything I wanted to hear
now.
Like the little extra challenge modes where you can where there's like a time limit and stuff. I'm like, that's the shit I want in a fucking 3D platform, even though it's not fully 3D camera, it's still 3D game. That's the kind of shit I like. That's what I like in 3D World. That's what I was missing in Odyssey. Like,
yeah, it's still at 85 and the user score is at 90. So
that's the shit I want. So
the game gets pretty brutal, man. I'm not even kidding.
Really?
Like, people can think like Kirby, you just kind of breeze through it. But I'm also playing on like the harder mode. I don't know if that affects stuff with the time limits or whatever, and what the exact difference is. But like, yeah, you're playing through the level. It's happy, it's cool. You're doing all this shit. But the specific moments that definitely like hand you your ass. You have like boss fights that are pretty intense. But yeah, you have like the mini games also that you unlock, which basically are like trials for the web based on the weapon. So if you have a trial with like the bomb throw, you're running like a little area, you got a platform, you're throwing bombs left and right to get through there as fast as you can. And some of them, I'm like trying for half an evening, trying one of those challenges. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm not fucking doing it. Like, some shit gets you mad. Like, some stuff is like legit hard.
That's what I want. That's the kind of stuff I like. Whether it takes me 100 tries or 50 tries, that's what keeps me coming back to games, especially like a good platformer.
But there's like little missions during all the levels, like a lot of the times you can't even complete level 100% in one go. There's like super, like the original Kirby, there's like secrets that are just so like obscure, hidden in levels, and like they can give you little hints. They have challenges where, for example, you got to beat a boss without getting hit once. There's like all these little secret areas. You got to find like the little waddle dees everywhere. There's like hidden stuff in the level itself. For example, you can find like torches, and one of the missions is to like light all the torches, like find this hidden room, like unlock this, beat that character. Like, that's quite a lot to it that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, and in the demo, I even replayed it to find the little 5 red roses or whatever in that first level, and I like that. Now, in Crafted World, they took that to way too far with, well, you got to play the level once, different. And then you can play it and get this one reverse thing. Well, you had to play a second time to even be able to get like some of the collectible 5 things you need.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you want to play it with the dog, 5 times with the puppy, and I'm like, that shit by fucking 3 worlds in or whatever. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. Fortunately,
I gave up. So it's good that it's basically what I've asked for. I haven't picked it up yet. I gotta get through Elden Ring. Even that little break I took with Horizon, I got to push through. I'm at 72 hours and I like clocked it. I feel like I'm about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through the game. And I'm stuck on some really tough bosses. But I mentioned that because, the report came out that From Software did a poll in like 2011 for employees. And out of like, I think it was out of 5, it got like they rated it like 1.4 for the pay they feel they deserve for the work they do. And then somebody's like, well, that was 10 years ago. And they're like, well, check the recent ones. And people are still complaining about being forced overtime, little pay, and then if a woman gets pregnant, she has to quit. She can't. There's no maternity leave, so she can't be there. Obviously, everybody wants to. You got to, you'd be a terrible person if you went right back to work after having your kid, because you got to have that bonding time and stuff. So if you're a woman working at From Software, you get pregnant, you're done. Like, you're done. You have to quit, or they fire you. I can't remember which one. And then you don't get paid when you're off. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Shit sounds almost like human rights violations.
No, I'm pretty sure it is.
In Japan, they have different. They have a lot of weird rules. But I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Now I know they haven't been like the biggest sellers. Like, I was surprised that someone posted that Sekiro sold like 10 million copies after 5 years. It's been out since what, 2019 or 2018? So 4 years, whatever it's been. And I was like, wow, I didn't know they sold that high, because the ones I looked at were all like, Bloodborne was like 2-3 million. Dark Souls was at like 3 million combined. But now you got a game that sold 12 million in 2 weeks. It's probably, I'd be shocked if it wasn't closer to 20 million now, or 15 to 18 million. And Japanese companies, you always hear about like the good things they do, especially Nintendo. Like, are the top guys at Bandai, Namco, and From Software getting huge bonuses, and then they're not, the employees that do all the work aren't getting anything? Like, I'm just curious if that's still true, and it's like, it's just disappointing, man. I hate hearing that shit. Like, not paying employees for what they deserve.
It's just a toxic work environment, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they might enjoy the work. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Sounds like there was some crunch, and their games aren't always technically sound. They have issues, like Bloodborne had issues on PS4. On PS5 it plays fine, and it's just like, man, that's disappointing. But it got brushed under the rug, even with all the technical issues on PC and stuff. It wasn't as bad because the PS4 version runs fine. The Xbox One version's pretty iffy. It's not quite Cyberpunk bad, but it's consistently like 20 frames per second, with enemies not just barely past the player. You know how on like Pokemon Terrell, with like the Pokemon in the distance were running at like 10 or 15 frames per second.
Yeah.
On Xbox One, Elden Ring is just about, I would say, if the character was lying down, their head would be touching people who are moving at 10 to 15 frames per second. Like, it's really bad. It's like,
that's something, just to quickly mention that's something Kirby does too. It's the one thing that kind of bothers me. And because with Pokemon, it's like very far away. It has a style, but with Kirby, it's really close to you. And sometimes you have big ass enemies that basically like are 2 frames, and I'm like, man, why is that like that?
It's the new way to save on performance. It's because John Linneman did a really good at Digital Foundry. He loved the game. Like, he just praised it. He did point that out. The problem with that video is he shows shit that I'm guessing is late game content. No spoiler warning. All of a sudden I'm seeing this cool ass shit on screen. I'm like, I should have commented like, dude, what the fuck, spoiler warning? Like, where is...
I would have commented.
That's some late game looking levels shit. It looked amazing, but he had to demonstrate that he thinks the main reason it's 30 FPS is there's a lot of shit on screen in certain sections, certain areas of the game. Like, I was surprised how much moving shit was on screen. And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense now, because the beginning level makes no sense that couldn't be 60, because 3D World... If you're playing 4-player, you had the giant mushroom, you had 4 giant characters on screen, and it was still 60. Like, maybe had some dips there, but so I don't know why Kirby wasn't. But he showcased the low frames per second on enemies, and as you got closer, it got smoother, and it's like that's a very common thing now to
save on performance or whatever. I can understand, but there's never so much on screen in Kirby where you feel it's gonna need that. It just doesn't need it. Even if you see really far in the distance, I don't feel it's the kind of game that needs it. It's not like it's Skyrim, like it's an open world game where it just loads the area around you, you know. You don't need that for like a platformer like this, especially if you see it in front of you. That's what the game is, you know. It's like a small little area. Like it's like because it's not even like it's like really far in the distance, you know. It's like you have a little island, you're standing on the island, and the fucking crocodile that's swimming just in the water is doing it. And especially because it's such a big creature, that's why I'm like, holy shit, you know, like it's just I don't know. I feel like I'm not a dev, but I feel like you don't need to save power in for this, you know.
And I agree with Anime Rapper. I think Odyssey, I think it's better looking than Kirby. Now Kirby looks good. I think Breath of the Wild looks better. That's a 5-year-old game, big open world, and I think just technically it's a more impressive visually impressive game.
I don't know. The reason why I think Zelda looks better is I think Zelda has a better art style.
I was going to say that with Zelda, it's an art style.
I didn't say that.
Obviously, I'd have to see comparisons. But if you see, for example, next to 3D
you
World,
play both games, like, Retro. You can't tell with your eyes.
Like Kirby is like a whole different league when it comes to 3D World, for example. There's no doubt that Kirby is leagues better graphically. But I mean, like I'd have to see comparisons.
I don't know about that, man.
That's another bad take.
I think it looks great, but there's some levels in 3D World that are fucking.
No, I'm not saying Odyssey doesn't
visually amazing.
I'm not saying 3D World doesn't look good. 3D World looks really fucking good. I'm just saying that there's a clear graphical difference with Kirby and 3D World.
See, I thought that until I went straight from Kirby to Breath of the Wild, and I believe like I hadn't turned Odyssey on right after, and Odyssey runs at 60 frames per second. At a it doesn't have a higher resolution, but it runs consistently at a higher resolution. It doesn't top out at 1080 like Kirby, but Kirby runs majority at like 8. Well, I think close to 900p, but whatever. That's fine. The game looks good, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it is like T was saying. It's just a little puzzling. Like, and I don't think Hell really does 60 frames per second games, so it's just kind of their thing. And I don't know if it's the engine they use or it doesn't need to be 60. Maybe that's the biggest reason. I don't know. It's a slower platform. It's like, even though it does feel quick sometimes when I was playing the demo and I was hopping, it does feel pretty smooth. So it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel sluggish.
I don't feel like Kirby necessarily needs to be 60, you know, even though it is usually the better option.
Yeah, I think it would look great.
There is no need for that frame rate difference between
like
Kirby
this guy right here.
That just shouldn't be there.
I don't know. He's pretty far away. This bunny is moving pretty normal. Now the guy behind him.
Yeah, that flying enemy is the one that was moving slow.
Specific moments, like I said, the crocodile and the in the first level, one of the first screens you see it.
Is that an IGN review? What the fuck is that?
I don't know. It was the first one that popped up.
How dare you?
I mean, it's. I'm not seeing just goddamn mad.
I knew
just talking about just like modern like rendering techniques. Texture. I'm not seeing really anything that I would classify as vastly beyond 3D World. Maybe there's more.
I've seen like literally side by side comparisons. Trust me, you can. It's definitely better looking.
I mean, this was definitely a Switch game.
Retro, I'm just saying.
3D World's an
Retro,
Odyssey or Wii U games.
I gotta like find this.
I really like how it looks. I mean, I do love how it looks.
It's a gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'd be fine if Donkey Kong 3D looked like this, like same art style, just with Donkey Kong with some fur. Just give him some goddamn fur.
The fur saga continues.
If we're gonna play a 30 frames per second 3D Donkey Kong game, he better have some fur. So like this looks really good. Some of this, though, it's probably partly due to the IGN never had the best video quality.
They still don't.
Some of it's not like, you know, some areas look great. Some areas I'm like, yeah, that's.
They're just fine.
Yeah, they're good, but they're not like some of the areas are real standouts, and some areas are like, doesn't.
Also, quick question, Retro, how far are you in Kirby?
I'm in the third world.
How many worlds does Kirby have?
I don't know how many there are.
Probably like 7 or 8.
I think there's at least 2 more
Sonic?
that I'm thinking.
Sonic.
No, it's an armadillo.
That looked like a hedgehog.
I was gonna say wow, that's nice. I was gonna say that's Dylan rolling Western. No,
because the demo, for example, had like 3 levels, but when you play the actual game, there's still stuff in between those levels also. The worlds are pretty long. Plus, if you're trying to like do the challenges all the time, like you're staying quite a while in the worlds. But yeah, I got to the 3rd world like yesterday, I think.
Let's look at some Odyssey here. Now, I know the grass looks like absolute trash in this first kingdom. If Clocked It was here,
you're probably gonna have to skip.
He wouldn't be taking it, but this grass texture is.
Never mind. It's okay.
This grass texture is bad, but the game's fine.
It's been a while since I've looked at.
It's one of those flat textures.
It's a 2D texture, and it's really low quality.
I also forgot that Mario Odyssey.
Look at this. This looks fucking good. I'm not talking about the actual 3D grass. I'm talking about the underlayer texture that's underneath. That's kind of just the green color. See, to me, this looks as good as fucking, if not better than Kirby.
Yeah, I would argue this looks better than Kirby in my opinion.
Just technically speaking. See that, like that grass
here's
texture.
the difference. I feel like both of those games had different goals.
But this is running at 60 though, like with a full 3D camera. I'm just talking about the fact that trying to figure out why Kirby.
There's no reason why Kirby shouldn't run 30.
Look, this guy knows how to play too. Look at him. He's not fucking around.
Stop. Hey,
that's what
you missed. I like it. It's like he knows how to play.
That's a good demonstration of what I always talk about with these 3D platformers that just have a basic move set. What's your speed run gonna look like if you only have a single jump and a hover like an Astro's bot or whatever? You don't have no other move, no side flip, no double jump.
To be fair, I don't think PlayStation ever. I don't think Sony had any intentions of that game being anything great.
Sackboy looks like the most basic ass fucking move set. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like. So
it's not that appealing.
I should find a later level.
Yeah.
Let's look at the
do the dragon area.
Bowser's Kingdom.
Right. Oh, you mean the heavily like Japanese
This is
fortress?
a really terrible video feed though. It's like all what do they call it?
Look what they've done to you. Look what they've done to you.
Direct comparison right here. Yeah, that area, right? That casino looking area has a lot.
Depending on where you're, the problem with Kirby is that certain areas look really good and some areas look all right. I don't know if this was the best.
I haven't played this game in a while.
So far, every time I'm playing, I'm still thinking every level. I'm like, holy shit, this looks so fucking good.
Yeah, but Retro, you thinking about some things.
Well, I'm really easy when it comes to graphics, but I mean, I definitely say when something
that would make you a graphics whore in some ways. I'm just saying. You're that easy.
I'm surprised Retro don't throw out a Super Mario 3D Land was better than Super Mario 3D World. That seems like an opinion you'd have.
I actually never I've played I played the first level of 3D Land, but then I didn't have the game anymore, so I never was able to completely finish it. But 3D World has got here, so that probably doesn't sound like something I would say.
What's a good level? I'm trying to think of a good showcase level in 3D World.
This level's fine. The next level I saw, it's very similar. Not this one. Fucking Chuck.
I forgot the Chucks were there.
3D World has the ghost houses, for example. We have the rain and everything. Those are so good.
Give me the rain.
Yeah, maybe there's
You know the problem
Kirby has levels like this too.
This looks a little more simplistic than I remember.
That definitely looks better.
It looks simplistic, but I think the water texture.
I think it's the water. I think the water's. Let's find a level.
It's also the grass in general, the rocks on the right. If you really want a graphics Kirby does look better than 3D World.
I think this level is pretty close. Both games, I think, are close.
Yeah, it's similar.
But anyway, got sidetracked there. This is 60 as well. So I mean,
the point we're making again, shit.
I don't know. We're talking about From Software. Let's get to the other ish. Moon Studios. Now this one.
Oh yeah, Ori's. Yeah, the Ori's.
This one's a little bit. I don't know all the details. I watched a video of a guy trying to paraphrase the details, and what he described was basically my dream work environment, with two guys that are like best friends and they just joke around all the time. As long as, like, I'm just gonna be clear, as long as it's not racism or sexism, as long as it's like, you know, doesn't cross any lines, like making fun of somebody for being gay or something like that, like that's not cool. But everything this person described, oh, they use foul language, dude made a dick joke, and I'm like, as long as you're not making a dick joke directly to a woman, like it was like a group chat that they allowed their employees could check, or they didn't have to partake, according to this person.
They didn't have to partake in the dick or the joke.
These people were just, this guy's just whatever. Nothing's like, they're just open and as like I said, as long as people aren't like being racist or making fun of somebody's religion or something, you know, a disability or something, that's one thing. And it didn't sound like that. It was not mentioned. Like me and my buddy, my best friend, like I envy his relationship with his parents, because like they talk about everything, just like with Robert and his mom. Like they're so open, it doesn't matter. Like it could be sex. Like they're so open, it doesn't matter. Like it can be sexual, it can be, you know, issues they've had, you know, going bowel movements. It doesn't matter. It's all on the table, and it's so refreshing. I felt so at home with him and his family compared to my family, where like we joke around, but it's not like that. Like it was so freeing, and I was like, man, if that could be my working environment. But anyway, long story short, people got offended, as they do in these days. You know, I don't know when the generation of snowflakes started, but some people got offended. Somebody, you know, whether, I hate to make light of it, but at the same time, I know not everybody's got the mentality to deal with a joking around work environment. I work with a kid straight out of high school. He's a self-proclaimed ladies' man, but for some reason, if you mention anything about women or like how did it, I was like, dude, how do you get women? You know, like he gets so offended over anything. It didn't matter. You just instantly get offended about stuff. I was like, he's trying to pretend like he didn't check out other girls because he was in a relationship. This other kid too said the same thing, and I was like, yeah, I was just driving into work. There was two girls out jogging. It's like, man, I didn't notice at all that they were both wearing super short shorts, had amazing thighs, you know, big boobs, flat stomach. I was making a joke because he says he never looks at women. I was like, yeah, I didn't look at them either. I didn't notice, you know, the one girl had this, the one girl had that. And he got mad at me. Like, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, I made all that up. I saw two girls running. I didn't even get a good look at it. I just literally made all that up. You thought I was serious? Like, I couldn't have been more sarcastic with how I was saying it. And I was like, what is with these young kids? He was fucking 20 years old. The other kid was 20 and 19. I'm like, what is with these kids, man? I was like, I wasn't like, oh my God, man, I want to do it. I was just like, yeah, that girl had, she looked like she was about 5'6". You know, the other girl looked about 6 foot. Just making a joke about how I was totally checking them out, even though I said I wasn't. And I'm like, I just can't believe it. So anyway, I have that mentality as somebody from my generation, grew up listening to Howard Stern, very open. Like, you know, I nothing offends me really other than stupidity and like I said, racism, all that stuff bothers me, but just in general. So to hear what he described Moon Studios being guilty of, I couldn't help but think of the situations I dealt with where people couldn't take even the most basic of questions, you know, like, or razzing or something, you know. We're not talking about frat house, whatever they call that when they like for the freshmen, when they like initiations and stuff, like
hazing
and nothing even close. And so it's hard for me to hear a story of somebody saying, oh, that really messed with my emotions and I was depressed. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the situation, but I just know that what that kid that I was just describing, or the other kid, the first kid, which I didn't really get into his story, he was like, someone's like, dude, like, shave your fucking beard. Like, he had this just ratty beard. and he had like hair coming out of the back of his shirt, and we're just like, dude, trim up your hair or stuff. Oh man, that's not good for my self-esteem telling me that. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, get out of here. Like, trim your hair, trim your beard. Like, seriously, like, get the fuck out of here.
Oh my god.
So I'm a little more sensitive when I see stuff. But anyway, Moon Studios, apparently the
Some
guys.
people, they just can't take a joke and then they go slapping.
Yeah, I want to put this in context for those who may or may not know. There are funny race-related jokes without being used racism. I'll give you one I saw recently. A dude asked, so TikTok does these things where you can kind of like ask a question and people can reply to them and stitch them together. So the dude asked, he goes, "What's one thing white people do better than black people?" And a white guy gets on there and he's like, "Oh, this is easy. The one thing is that when someone tells a joke, we're able to sit still and still laugh at the joke."
Yeah.
Referencing the fact that black people have a tendency to
get up and get crazy.
And here's the kicker. You know who ruined the joke? A black woman gets on there and goes, "Oh, that was funny." But you want to know why we do that? It goes back to slavery. And every guy on the man goes, "Oh, God." And I was like, that's exactly what you do. You can have a funny race joke without turning it into some bullshit like that.
Yeah, that drives me nuts, man. Like, Chris Rock, you know, that joke that, you know, he got slapped for.
It wasn't even offensive. It was not even offensive. It wasn't.
I mean, he's, you know, I think he was actually trying to make Jada feel better, you know, by making trying to make it less uncomfortable. Anyway, whatever.
I'm just saying,
he's made some fucking funny ass jokes about white people. Eddie Murphy, some funny ass jokes about white people, like hilarious.
Eddie Murphy is so, when he does the Texas shit, man, that's so good.
And I'm just like, unless somebody's mean spirited, and you can tell that they really hate, you know, they're really hateful, like, you know, that shit's funny, and it should be funny. That's what jokes are for. It's to make uncomfortable things, you know, break the ice, awkward things to talk about. It makes people able to talk about stuff if you do it in a joke. You know, like Dave Chappelle does a lot. Talks about serious shit but makes it funny. So anyway, it's a, you know, as a white man, it's a little, sometimes you gotta wonder, like, would this go over well if you know, if it's you and T and Jason or clocked it. I mean, you know, I got to think before I'm not just going to throw anything out there. You know, I do got to consider it, but I would never, you know, a funny joke's a funny joke. You know.
Well, also there's also different tiers of blackness. So like,
yeah.
So like something that I don't care about may offend T or something T cares about, and Jason may not be offended. But you won't know until you tell the joke. The whole point is intent. If I know you, and I know Juice, I'm not gonna take anything he says with like this crazy. Oh, he's been a racist this whole time. He has a white hood. He has a white hood in the back of his closet. You fucking Klansman. No, I'm not gonna do all that.
Some people do.
I shoot, Juice. You can walk out the house. Oh. What are you about to go do? Go to your fucking white rally meeting or some shit? I'm like, all right. I think now you're being racist.
Yeah. How do you feel, since we're on the topic? How do you feel about the people of color, whether it's black, Mexican, or whatever, saying they can't be racist because they're
that's a bunch of bullshit. That's what black people. I mean, well, that's what people of color say when they're racist, but they don't want to be judged for being a racist. And unfortunately, in today's society, because we're pandering to the minorities, they can get away.
I think some people actually believe that, which is
what
sad.
Makes me angry is that nowadays people of color have gotten away with saying some of the most racist shit online, but because they're not white, it's not a problem. And I feel like that's a little unfair, because I'm like, yeah, if a white person were to say the same thing, you would have called him a racist. So
you could say the same thing about, like someone pointed out, a T, like said if it wasn't Chris Rock said that joke, but a female, I forget who he said. I said Leslie Jones. Imagine if Will Smith just walked up and it wasn't the worst slap in the world, but imagine he walked up and slapped Leslie Jones on the Oscar stage. How many women do you think would be taking his side?
Well, here's my question. Here's my question. I don't think the joke was offensive enough to justify. To me, if he had said something like how she looks like a cancer patient, I would have been in tears. But I would have been like, okay, that's offensive enough for you to be a little bit angry about. But like, he called her G.I. Jane. Like,
well, he's basically saying because of her haircut, she, don't look down. You can G.I. Jane. You could always do G.I. Jane too. That's not what it sounded like the intent was.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's not offensive. Will, where are you going? Will.
But my point is, if he slapped a woman instead of Chris Rock, then it's a completely different situation.
Well, yeah, then it's sexy.
It's exactly like what T said in his stream as well. Like, if The Rock was standing there, damn well he wouldn't have gotten up and slapped him, What
if it would have been...
Will could get away with it with Chris.
What if it would have been Ricky Gervais, though? How do you think that would have been handled differently? Or do you think...
with who?
If Will Smith slapped Ricky Gervais, the white dude who usually does the offensive comedy.
I don't think...
You think they would have got security or anything like that?
I want to be real here. Will overall is a pretty soft dude, okay?
Yeah,
and that's fine. That's fine. But stay in your fucking lane.
I think he's been belated by his wife for so long that he just felt he got to a point where he had to prove to her that he could do something.
Yeah, but
that's what I feel like happened.
But slapping Chris Rock in the Oscars, and here's the kicker: if you look at the footage, he laughed at the joke.
I know.
It was literally just because his wife was like, "Ugh," and he's like, "Fuck, now I got to go up there."
He didn't have to.
Here's the thing, though.
Comedy, oh no, he definitely shouldn't have. It wasn't worth it.
Whether the joke was like funny or not, like it was borderline just a comment, the thing is, like, comedy, stand-up, whatever, used to have this line where, like, look, you know what you're in for, it's comedy. The people say shit, it's to be jokey. He wasn't being a dick, whether he knew it or not, whatever. He was being a dick. It was just comedy and shit. And you just don't transition that line. You can heckle, worst case heckle, or like, well, you just yell at them, whatever. I don't know, like, you just don't say that shit. But then, like, he like deceitfully got up just to bitch slap him.
Well, you know what you should have done?
If you wanted to, like a soul.
If you wanted to be respectful about it, but still tell him you have a problem with the joke, you go backstage and you have a conversation with him. We're two grown ass men who've been in the industry for years.
Do you think Chris Rock knew that Jada had the hair loss?
I don't think it matters.
But if he didn't, then there's absolutely no reason. He was just commenting on her haircut at that point. But
even if he knew, it wasn't. To me, it was not a deep enough burn for you to be like, well, now those are fighting words. I'm like, no, Will, you feel emasculated because you're fucking.
And then what do you think about his phrasing? Stop using my wife's name, or keep my wife's name from coming out of your mouth. It sounded so weird. It was so fucking weird.
Okay, you know what?
That already.
So here's the two reasons why it's weird. One, Will was like the cleanest, especially in the black community. He was like one of the cleanest dudes. So hearing him curse already doesn't seem natural to begin with. The second reason is because he's trying to sound hard. There are guys who literally would speak that way, be like, keep my wife's name out of your motherfucking mouth. Oh no, it was out of your fucking mouth. He didn't say motherfucking.
It just sounds so weird to say his wife's name out of his mouth. Like, it's just weird.
I very much believe that Jada is a toxic woman and she has fucked him up.
I think.
Let's move on. I don't want to get into
the cracks are shown, dog. I feel so bad for him, but he's a fucking bitch for that. I'm gonna be rude.
Yeah.
He's a bitch. That's a bitch move.
I'm burning all my DVDs and Blu-rays.
Last thing, I give props to Chris for being professional about it, because
I wish he would have had a better comeback.
Because most men would have just swung on you if you put your hand on him. He kept it professional and no one gave a fuck.
He was like, it was a G.I. Jane. I wish he would have just had a better like quip. But anyway, enough of that bullshit. Moon Studio, whatever I took it in a different direction. Maybe there was legit. People made it sound like it was an oppressive workplace. It's like, it just sounded like they joked around too much, and some people can't handle that mentality. That's what it sounded like. But maybe it was worse. Either way, Microsoft cut ties with them. They're not publishing their games.
Damn.
And And then the big one.
They just didn't want the PR. That's really what it was. Oh, real quick, before you do that, I want to mention every rapper's line is hilarious. I go beat up people for being white all the time. I'm still not racist because I'm not white. All right, go. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
So the mother of all issues is fucking the initiative, the first quadruple A studio Microsoft put together a few years ago. What are they working on? Perfect Dark.
What the hell have they done?
Quadruple A, is that a real thing?
That's
I'm
what.
making that up
No, they legit announced that studio and said it's the world's first quadruple A studio.
Oh, really?
Well, what have they put out?
Nothing. They were put together to be a super development team, and then they got revealed they're making Perfect Dark like 2 years ago. So, I want to start by saying the reports that have been corroborated, they have like a 50% turnover rate since they founded this studio. People keep leaving in higher positions. Alana Pierce knows people who work there, and this was their word, so I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. They said the lead guy was so indecisive that he would come in, quote unquote, after seeing a cool movie and say, we got to do this in Perfect Dark. And apparently month later, he'd see another cool movie or show. No, we got to do this. And he was just pulling ideas out of his ass and having them change up what they're doing. And then the other complaint was there was absolutely no timetable. There was no initiative to get anything done. And it's just like completely open project. And, it felt like it was going nowhere. So that's what Alana reported, that the people she knew that she knew they had worked there, that no longer worked there, had said to her. Now, this is like I said, the quadruple A studio that Microsoft threw together. This is one of the few ones. They didn't just buy a studio. They actually tried to build a studio from scratch. They tried to make a super group, basically, and get a bunch of talented people, successful people from other studios like Naughty Dog and Santa Monica and, places like that. Maybe even Retro Studios, I forget. And now they're just like, basically, it just sounds like disarray. The initiative was lacking initiative. And
we're all
the funny thing is that, was it was Red Knight. He made a video a year and a half ago, I want to say, because people were calling out, well, when's these Xbox games coming out? When's Avowed coming out? When's Fable? When's Hellblade? And he made a video that they're closer than you think. And he claimed that Phil Spencer had said he was playing Perfect Dark, which would have been Christmas of 2020. At home, he's playing Perfect Dark. This game's coming out soon. This game's probably coming out this year, 2021. That fucking game ain't coming out 2024, I'm telling you right now.
That game ain't coming out ever, shit.
If ever. And who knows what trash it'll be. If that's true, if that guy was just like, oh, we got to do this now. I've seen this cool thing. If they didn't start with like a good foundation of gameplay element.
That game's hard.
But anyway, I just thought it was hilarious. Like everybody that's followed me and probably knows that there was a falling out there, and I was like, and the guy became such a big Xbox fan to the point where he's trying to sell people on it like he's getting paid. But anyway, him and other Xbox guys were, Perfect Dark's coming out. Phil Spencer said he was playing it at home. It's coming out. There's no fucking way. I wonder what he was playing almost a year and a half ago now.
He's playing Star Fox Zero Beta.
But to me, this is not good. And somebody was like, oh, it's only 3 out of 21 studios. Well, first of all, Microsoft buying Bethesda and Activision doesn't automatically make them Microsoft's studios that you count towards this list. This is a team that Microsoft put together, a development studio they built. 343, a company they worked with for a long time, bought them. They had them on Halo before they purchased them. They have a bunch of problems. They had a bunch of issues. Halo people are still saying it shouldn't have come out yet. Diehard Halo fans. So to me, and then the Moon Studios, I don't really I don't count that. They don't own Moon Studios. They just worked with them. And I don't think that's as bad as maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but in my mind it's not as bad. So that's 2. It's not out of 21. I mean, out of what Microsoft's actual studios are, like the guys that make the Coalition, Playground, and those guys that they've had for a while, not just buying Bethesda. Somebody's like, well, id Software's not having problems. Well, they don't technically. I don't even know if that deal is actually fully. Maybe it's done now. I know the deal's been done. I don't know if it fully takes place. You can't just give them id Software, being a good company, is towards Microsoft credit at this point. They haven't had them long enough.
You would have to wait until after they make
10 years from now, if id Software is still a great company, then yeah, the Microsoft didn't have a negative effect. But at this point, they don't really the track record's a little a little concerning.
We're in the wait and see.
We still haven't seen Ninja Theories. They made fucking Bleeding Edge since they were bought. And we've seen some CGI fake gameplay, or not CGI, but like scripted gameplay of Hellblade 2. And who knows when that's coming out. Like, we need to start seeing these games. So we have Crackdown 3. Who made that? They didn't own that company.
That was a year-long shit show.
Wasn't that the company that Tencent bought a portion of? That made like Snake Pass? I forget.
Yeah, you're right.
But that's their IP. That's Microsoft's IP, and they had issues with that game's development. We know Halo had issues, like I mentioned. Forza Horizon series and the Ori games, honestly, those were their 2 like top quality games without really any kind of, whether it was a good, people just thought it wasn't a good game or not. So I just think it's a bit concerning. I'd be a little concerned for some of the games. Perfect Dark at this point, if somebody's still excited for that game, I gotta say, what the fuck, man? Like, why? You've seen nothing, and now we know that they're having issues. Now maybe they hire some great people and turn it around. We know Retro Studios has been hiring people left and right. That tells me either people are leaving or they're just really expanding. So it's not like,
I always got the feeling they were expanding more than anything.
But they did lose a couple of their, like, the lead guys, like the director.
I remember they did basically switch like studios and the whole game development. So they probably had to make some changes.
Retro's lost some people, some people to other studios. So I don't know, man. It's like, I know I'm more down on Xbox lately than I had been in previous years, but I'd honestly would be concerned. Like, I could have bought a Series X for a week. It was available. I had the money, and I just like, you know what? I got to see some actual games, other than Forza Horizon. I need to see them actually, these companies they bought in 2018 since then. I need to see them actually putting out quality games that aren't grounded, that aren't fucking Bleeding Edge, that aren't busted Crackdown 3 and State of Decay 2. Like, I need to see a wave of games to feel confident, and I'm just concerned that these companies get bought out, or Microsoft has so much money that, and they give them someone says that they give them freedom. I believe that. I believe they're giving these companies freedom, but I think they're giving them too much freedom, and I don't know. I don't think we've seen anything come from that yet that's been really good. Now, maybe Hellblade 2 comes out and it's amazing. You're like, all right, that's a good example. That's a good game. That's a company they bought and they put out a good game. So
I mean, even all of that, I'm like, I'm still thinking about the quadruple A thing. I'm like, dude, like, even if that depends on how you even see that and you name that. Just if you put like 1,500,000 million in the studio and you have like 20,000 people working, that doesn't make you quadruple A. At that level, you need a track record. You need to have shown me games, and even then,
I think it based on the people they hired, because they hired a bunch of top people.
I don't see that. You need a quadruple A. That means you're like evolving to another level. That means you need.
To me, that's just a bunch of buzzwords. That's buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me find the exact.
you need a gaming track record that shows, and even then, like even now, like if we think of what a triple A game, like triple A games are, like if you want to do it, we barely mastered that. That's like when they wanted to do like 4K shit when we couldn't even get from 20 FPS games and shit, you know? Like don't call yourself quadruple
All
A,
right, let
man.
me
It's just
share.
so arrogant.
Phil Spencer teases Xbox Studio the initiative doing new things and old things. I don't think this is where he called them quadruple, but E3 2018, Xbox, the initiative studio has been rather quiet with the new console generation only a few months away. And he revealed that their first ever quadruple A studio was challenging themselves to do new things and old things in new ways. Well, I guess the challenge is too much because people are leaving.
You planned that out, didn't you? Juice is slick with these punchlines. You better watch him.
It's just like sometimes people don't realize. I know guys that think they don't understand how somebody who has money can be unhappy in life. How can that person be depressed? They have all this money. Well, money doesn't buy you happiness. And
yeah, man, look at Will Smith. Come on.
Money doesn't buy you a guaranteed good game. You know, you can't just throw money at a game. And I'm sure Anthem had a big budget. You know, the money couldn't solve that. You got to have the right people, and also you can't just build things from scratch. So I bring up to you guys and on here, I bring up my work a lot because I've been working there for 24 years. I've seen a lot of shit. We have the same. Well, we just lost one guy who almost at 30 years. He was a few months shy of 30 years. The two guys, my bosses, both are about 30 years in. I'm 24. The other guy that just left was 29 years. So when you have a shipping warehouse team made up of people who've been doing it that long at a high level, we can bring in these fucking kids out of high school who are sitting on their phones all the day long and not looking for, never looking for something to do, having to always be told what to do. We can still be a top tier fucking shipping warehouse because we have the core guys that have been doing it a long time. Well, what this company bought us, they're almost $1 billion company, and they're like, oh, we're going to open up in the central United States in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to open up a warehouse. It's going to be our main distribution center. We're going to make you guys just a little satellite warehouse, and this is our main warehouse can be Louisville. They hired two guys out of the blue. They build this huge warehouse, and they're just like, all right, figure out where you want stuff laid out. And these guys tried to do their best. They had like a month. They hired a couple people. And then all of a sudden we sent them 20, 30,000 items, 30,000 SKUs. And they had to figure out how to get it on the shelf, find a spot for it. That warehouse, long story short, was an absolute disaster. People would call and they say, I'm not buying anything from you if it ships out of Louisville. If it doesn't ship out of Michigan, I'm not buying it. So Louisville had to ship it to us so we could ship it to the customer to make sure it was right. It was a disaster. Long story short, you can't just take a bunch of people, throw them together, and assume they're going to be able to do the job that these people, like my team, with all these experienced people could do. Now, if they had brought one or two of us over and trained all these people the right way, it probably would have worked. They didn't do that. They didn't even think to do that. They didn't ask about it. We didn't suggest it because no one wanted to do that anyway. So I just feel like you can't just take a team of people, and I'm sure they're all professional, like been doing the job. I'm sure that none of them are like rookies. But you just can't take a random group of people and assume they're going to have chemistry and assume they're going to be able to work together. Obviously, they aren't because half the people left. Different personalities. You got to learn. Some people don't work with other people well. Some people like to be on their own. Other people like to make friends at work and joke around. Other people want to just be left alone. I'm not here for friends. I'm here to work type of mentality. And it's like you can't just build one from scratch. Say they're quadruple A. Give them a huge budget, a game to work on. It's like, Well,
it's also like with your example of the company. If you have a company here and you create a company here under the same name that doesn't like guarantee you the same like level of quality you get here. That's like with Rare, for example. When Xbox got Rare, like, but what Rare originally was, the people who made Rare, they were kind of gone, and then you get like fucking Connectimals and
Yeah,
that kind of
you
shit.
think Microsoft knew that the core GoldenEye, Donkey Kong Country people were gone from Rare? Do you think they knew that when they bought Rare? I wonder if they did.
I don't. I would argue they didn't.
I'd be. I mean, they thought they were getting.
That's interesting
Donkey
if they
Kong.
knew it or not. Yeah, but again, yeah, like that's what they just assumed though. They bought Rare thinking Rare makes this, but like you said, it's the team that makes it. Just because you have the name doesn't guarantee
And
that.
Nintendo always had a producer or something working with them. It was never just Rare on their own. Just like Retro Studios, they still have the Metroid. The main guy for Metroid Prime. I forget. Can't remember who that is. I think it starts with a T. His name, but he's there. He's the lead. He's the producer. Retro Studios makes the game, but he's still the overseer and the boss. So if you don't have the right person, that's the other thing. Now you could take 4 or 5 really good workers, but if you put them somewhere with a terrible boss who doesn't have them doing the right things, like to their skills, they don't know their skills. So let's say my skill is just being really accurate, packing well. I'm not the fastest, but I do a really good job and don't make a lot of mistakes. Now, if you put me on like a job that requires super fast work, I'm not suited for that. I'm probably gonna make a ton of mistakes and stuff, and it's not what I'm suited for. So if you have the wrong person in charge, you could have good people, and just like give them the wrong task, and you fucked up. Like, so I don't know what the best way to do that. Build a studio. I think just somebody who knows nothing about game development. I think I would hire some people, have them make a small project, work together, find out how they handle it working together, let them kind of build up, hire some people, and then say, all right, now try to make Perfect Dark, bring back Perfect Dark. Like just having a bunch of random cooks in the kitchen try to come up with a recipe for a new Perfect Dark. I don't think that's the way to do it. But either way, it's like I said, I think it's a little concerning. 343 had issues, and now the Initiative, and Moon Studios wasn't their fault, nothing to do with Microsoft. So I don't know, that's kind of it. I feel like there might have been one other studio that I think wasn't Rockstar called out for some shit
a while back.
Yeah, it wasn't recent.
I don't think it was anything
I did want to talk about the Rockstar subscription service though for PS5 and Xbox Series X. So not only, and it was like the number one game, and I think GTA 5 was the number one game last week in Europe. Fucking idiots. Rebuying the game. I gotta look to see how much it is. I never did look to see if it was a budget or if it was full 70 for PS5.
By the way, I see some blasphemy on Twitter revolving around Elden Ring. People, so they saw the announcement for the Zelda, where he's like, "Oh, I see Zelda has gracefully dodged having to fight Elden Ring for Game of the Year 2022."
Oh, that's stupid.
And I'm like, y'all need to cut this shit out. This is getting.
I seen a funny one where he's like, "Oh, well, Elden Ring just secured Game of the Year." Like that makes.
Well, that one's fine, but the other one is what pissed me off, because I'm like, guys, I don't understand this weird dogging of Zelda all of a sudden.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, it just
I thought Grand Theft Auto 5 was released. Why can't Best Buy doesn't show it?
Oh, what are you talking about? The PS.
They just released the PS5 version, I thought.
Hold on.
And Xbox Series X.
Is it on Game Pass?
I was just trying to see what price it was, but anyway. So for PS5 and Series X people playing Grand Theft Auto Online, which you have to pay for, like there has like a battle pass or season pass thing. Now they're offering for $5 more a month, where you don't have to earn any. You can just buy stuff without having to play the game to earn it. On top of reselling you the game and paying for the access to Grand Theft Auto Online, now they have an additional $5 or $6. And I gotta give credit. almost everybody I saw was calling them out for it. Like,
yeah,
this company has got to be one of the most
this is beyond
wealthiest companies since they released GTA 5. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 was a huge hit. Like in Grand Theft or GTA Online been going strong with microtransaction. Now you're actually trying to charge an additional $5 a month so people don't have to do what? Like play the game to earn stuff. I don't understand. Like it feels like they see these people just keep giving them money and like, you know what?
It's kind of like
let's fuck with them. Let's see what we can get away with.
It literally is like a child at a candy store putting in the quarter for those little candy machines, but noticing they're only getting something like maybe 3 or 4 tries in there. And then being like, well, I wonder if we took less stuff out, would they still put in money? And they take less stuff out. And then what if we raised it to 50 cents? And it's like, you fucking assholes.
What if we make it just the most generic, shitty ass stuffed animal? Will people still do the claw game? Yes, they will.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's not Mickey Mouse. It's Jimmy the Rat. Like the fuck. Like what do we?
It just feels like they want to know where the line is, where the Grand Theft Auto
who
fans.
Who the fuck does that? That's such a disrespectful thing to do.
Why not? Like, everything they do these fucking casuals that. I mean, Grand Theft Auto is the biggest casual franchise there is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Next to
buy this shit. And shit. I mean, it's bigger because it sells more. I mean,
that's true.
And it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with this company? They released a shitty port which sold 10 million. I think it said it was 10 million last I looked, or last somebody said something. Of the trilogy, they didn't even do a proper service to that. And Red Dead Redemption Online, I guess, was an absolute disaster. And now you're like just trying to charge more money for what? It's just I'm disappointed in myself for buying GTA 5 on the 360 because I got talked into it. I enjoyed it for a while, but I'll never touch it again. I'm just so glad that I haven't given Rockstar another dime since then, because they are fucking the worst, man. Like, they're EA bad in my opinion. They might even be worse. Point,
taking advantage of your customers like this, yeah, I would say they're just as bad.
Oh, by the way, we started Grand Theft Auto 6. You should have started that 5 years ago. What the fuck? I
don't care, dog. I really don't care.
And you think are they actually gonna improve the gameplay? Like the cover system was completely trash, broken. I don't know, man. I just can't believe this company. I'm telling
you now, like a couple of months before GTA 6 like comes out or has like an actual trailer, we're gonna get GTA 5 on whatever Nintendo console is out there. Yeah. They will try and get that,
and there will be no excitement. Well, I won't say that. I'm lying. Yeah, there will.
Oh, people will still eat that shit up. That's the worst part about it.
At this point, who gives a shit? I know not all games are the same, but when we've had the Breath of the Wild's Elden Ring now, if what other open world like
Assassin's Creed?
Well, I don't know. People seem to think they're going in the right direction. The last few.
Immortal.
I mean, I liked Immortals. It wasn't that greatly received. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, people that even liked it still had to call out the fucking gameplay, the shooting. Uncle Michael. They had to call out the shit you should have is the shooting mechanics. Why is that something that's not like great in this fucking game where they have you skinning a deer thrown on the back of your horse? Like that shit don't mean anything. Get the gameplay right, and it just blows my mind that this company people just keep buying their games and they just keep fucking with people. So I don't know. I know you I don't think you've ever played one, have you, Retro?
GTA.
Mm-hmm.
I started from the very, very first one. It was still top down because I love that top down aspect. And then I played 2. I played London. Then I switched to 3. And I think Vice City is the one I played most. I played that quite a lot, but I never played anything after that. After Vice City, 4, 5. It's just all the same stuff now. all the time, and I just don't care really. There's so many choices in open world, and I'd rather be like a dude with a sword in a castle than like I don't know, some dude with a pistol on the street. It's just not imaginative enough for me, I guess. I don't know, just have no interest.
One thing I did like about 5 was just the variety of vehicles you could drive, like a Sea-Doo, and it wasn't wave race quality, but it was pretty damn fun as a wave racing game, jet ski game. Like they had like a four-wheeler quad or whatever. I don't know if what you guys call them.
We call it quads.
They had some racing with that. Now the physics were pretty trash, but there's a lot of fun things. The flying the planes.
Well, if
really
somebody
fun.
gives me GTA 5, I know I'm gonna have fun with it. I just have no need to pick it up, really.
But the actual story part of it was what I didn't care about. And it's the same old, go here. Oh, this is a mission. This is a main mission. Do that. Everything else, you're just fucking around. That really you really don't gain anything. This game actually had a system where you could bet on the stock market and you could make money and stuff. It had a lot of shit, but none of it was done exceptionally well. It looked really good for the 360, I will say. The cloud system it's better than a lot of games even today. As much as I hate to say it, like, it was not, you could fly in the air so you could appreciate it more, but it's like, I think it was, I would say with confidence it was well above like what Breath of the Wild's cloud system is. Not that it's known for its cloud system, but it was I think honestly the first game to come close was Flight Simulator 2020. That's the first in 7 years. I think GTA had the best cloud system in a game until Flight Simulator. It just blew my mind how good that was on the 360. That's where I spent most of the time flying, but anyway, that's kind of beside the point. They're a shit company. There's other shit companies.
It's crazy how much of that shit is coming to light in recent years and everything. Like, absolutely ridiculous. The Blizzard stuff also.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing.
If it came out,
you have literally people who say that they've been like gearing their life towards working for some of these companies, and they actually said like, man, like, I'm just gearing to a whole other different way. People are literally being turned away from game development because of some of this shit.
And I mean, if it came out that like a company I really like their games for you, I mean, that sucks. I would consider not supporting if I heard there was some bad practices. Now, Insomniac, I don't love their games, but apparently, and as no one said to the contrary, there was no crunch for Ratchet and Clank. There was no crunch for Miles Morales. People seem to like working there. Now, it sucks for me is they don't put out the best games, but if it's a good company and they have a good track record with their employees and they don't crunch and they get games out, that are functional, I almost would rather support that, even though, I mean, now that it's been not quite a year, I forget who was someone was talking about Ratchet and Clank, and I forget who it was, and they were like, yeah, thinking about it, the game was just okay. Like the gameplay was just, it wasn't anything beyond the original games. Like, they didn't take it anywhere in a new direction that was exciting. It was just okay. And it's like, why is the best looking game, of all time when it came out, why can't it also have great gameplay? So that's just kind of my stance on Insomniac. But if they're a good company,
this article came out because you said Ratchet and Clank, about Ratchet and Clank and Rivet, like that female Lombax that's in there. How apparently, like, when they were developing the character, originally the studio wants to like give it like human tits and all that kind of shit, and this person in the studio was like, no, dude, like they gave like examples to like the Spyro remake and things like that. They're like, dude, no, don't give him tits, don't give him makeup, just make a normal female version of the animal, you know, like it's kind of
Let
funny.
me see what Rivet's design, because I liked her design.
Yeah, she has really good design now and stuff, but they wanted to make that stuff that we always complain about, like, dude, these animals wouldn't have human tits, like, don't put that on there and stuff. Like, it's
She could
pretty
have
funny.
little mounds though. She can have a booty. She could be an animal and have a booty. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
no, it can be female, but you know, don't make it like all weird and stuff. Like they were like really going crazy
I
with
don't
the
know. I
development
don't
of the
have a problem
character.
with that. I mean, I'm not asking for, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 fucking ridiculous breasts or anything, but Rivet could have boobs. You don't got to be afraid. Look at this.
Let's go.
Hey, it looks like a helmet from Elden Ring that you can put on. Oh, this is a cute design of Ratchet. Or Rivet, I mean. Oh, sure. Trell's definitely not like me. I couldn't stand having my nephew handed to me. I'm going to share this. This is a cute
Made
Rivet
for that
design.
family life.
This is a cute little Rivet design. Don't you think?
Yeah, that goes more to like furry.
If Terrell would comment.
You're enjoying yourself, buddy.
This is a conversation Terrell would be perfect for her, and he's distracted.
All I hear is furry booty. I heard that. I heard something about you don't want tits on the animal.
Apparently somebody...
We were talking about some articles were coming out about when they were designing Rivet, and like the studio wanted to put like makeup on her and like human tits basically, and people were like, dude, just don't do that because that has killed games before, you know. It's just something in general people don't really.
What game was ruined? What game was ruined? Name a game that was ruined. Right
I think they were talking about some controversy that came up. I think with Spyro, Kangaroo, they were designing in there and stuff.
Oh, like it was too.
Like I was saying, like no one's gonna be upset about Rivet having a nice shaped booty. Like, come on.
What are you doing?
And she might. I don't even know. I haven't played the game, so.
I don't know how many times you can put this basket on me, bro. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm just not a kids person. My brother would hand me my nephew. I'd be like, I want this fucking kid. Like,
I mean, I'm not one inherently, but you know.
Oh shit! Well, I didn't realize the stream couldn't even see what I was sharing because when I click away, it goes away. But anyway, you know, we covered a lot of shit, and we'll get the weekly Xbox updates from what did I call them? TIGF 720.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good Rivet right here. Yeah, it looks fine. What the fuck?
And the stream, I have a basket on my head.
All right, so yeah. Next week we can get T and Robert's take on Zelda and all the other things we discussed and anything else that comes up. Maybe there'll be a surprise direct mini or something. Who knows? But yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning in on this Tuesday edition of The Juice is Loose, and we'll see you next week. Nothing wrong with boobs on a